This video is sponsored by Normandy 1998, 212th Trooper, Sylar 1610, Carmen CJ, Runescribble, Kitsu the Kitsune, and Chaos Enforcer. If I don't do this, the tree will die, and so will the Pokemon who live here. This is Ash Ketchum's declaration, as for the first time he attempts to manifest aura, like Lucario and Sir Aaron before him. All around him, the Tree of Beginning is in a state of collapse, having mistaken him and his friends for a virus and initiated an overzealous purging response. Now the only way to save it, Mew, and the Pokemon that call this place home is for an Aura Guardian to give up their aura, and with it, their life. Refusing to allow Ash to make this sacrifice, Lucario likewise begins manifesting its own aura, so that soon the twin orbs of blue energy overlap, while in the center, Mew's strength slowly returns. However, at the same time, Ash and Lucario's strength is fading fast, with painful jolts of energy rippling up their body, while around them, an otherworldly glow signals that their time in this world is coming to an end. Seeing this, Lucario attempts to shoulder barge Ash out of the way, since while it could not save Sir Aaron, it can at least save its new friend. Though, here is where the divergence point occurs, as while in canon this would be successful, and it would take the sacrifice upon itself, here an unexpected jolt of energy causes its knees to buckle, preventing it from putting its plan into motion. Instead, it must watch as Ash lets out a final cry, and the orb of aura shifts from blue to green, signifying Mew's renewal. Then, a moment later, the interior of the tree does likewise, as the Psychic type channels its own strength to restore balance, ending the immune response and saving the day. As one, Ash and Lucario collapse to the ground, thoroughly spent as more energy rips through them, seemingly intent on claiming both their lives. However, this intention, much like Lucario's, will not come to fruition, as while the aura cost to save the tree would be fatal for one person, for two it is just incredibly draining, with the knowledge that they are not going to die slowly dawning on the pair as they bear witness to Sir Aaron's final moment via Time Flower, and realize they are not being transformed into crystalline structures. Allowing Lucario a chance to grieve its fallen master and the message he had left for it, Ash instead embraces his own partner, with Pikachu letting out a squeal of joy as they can finally be reunited after all the recent trials and tribulations. Meanwhile, May, Max, Brock, and Kid Summers enter the chamber, eager to celebrate the continued survival of Mew and the Tree of Beginning. Though, this does beg the question of what will become of Lucario, since it has no place in this strange modern world it was never meant to see. Will it stay here and guard the tree, return to Cameron Palace, or something else entirely? As it turns out, Lucario has already made up its mind, as rising to its feet in front of Ash, the Fighting Steel type states that if he will have it, it would like to continue traveling with him and his friends, so it may see more of the peace Sir Aaron gave his life to uphold. Smiling broadly, the raven-haired boy grins that it would be his pleasure, with this settling the matter, though before they continue on their journey, Lucario does insist they return to Rhoda to formally request Lady Eileen's leave to go on this journey with Ash, as well as to withdraw his previous accusations against his master, and ensure that his legacy within the kingdom is that of the hero he truly was. Once this is settled, our heroes return to the road in Ash's Battle Frontier journey, though before they can reach the battle arena, they must first make an unscheduled pit stop in an abandoned mining town to spend the night when a rather nasty storm kicks up. At first, they attempt to seek shelter in the mine shaft itself, though this only leads to a confrontation with a group of angry ghost types who scare them off, with them instead camping in an abandoned house, only to learn this is where a group of psychic types like to party all night long. As it turns out, these two groups are locked in a bitter feud, and while in canon it would take a lot of mediation and a clever guess from Brock to figure out a simple solution to bring their enmity to an end, here Lucario does it much faster, since as a Pokemon itself, it is able to understand both sides, and sensing their aura to know that everyone is being honest, it is able to lay everything out in the open, making it far easier for a resolution to be reached that makes everyone happy, as the Psychic types agree to party in a soundproof bubble made by Abra to avoid upsetting the Ghost types, and the Ghosts in turn promise to stop ruining the Psychics' good time with their scaring antics. And speaking of good times, next stop is the battle arena, and upon spotting that it is a fighting type dojo with an emphasis on hard work and discipline, Lucario requests the opportunity to be one of Ash's two Pokemon in this battle, despite not actually being his per se, since he never captured the blue canid and instead views it as more of a companion like Brock, May, or Max. Ash is more than happy to acquiesce to Lucario's request, while Greta in turn welcomes the challenge, since she can tell it has a strong fighting spirit, which is what counts most in her book. Taking their places on the battlefield, Ash opens with Grovyle, while Greta uses Hariyama, with this going like canon, which means a loss for Ash as the Arena Tycoon is able to use his Pokemon's momentum against it, taking Grovyle out and leaving Lucario to handle a 2v1. From the sidelines, Max questions if Ash can win this, since this will be Lucario's first ever competitive battle, though as it turns out, this is not an issue, or at least not the issue Max was anticipating, as after using Detect to avoid Hariyama's incoming attack, Lucario blasts with an aerial aura sphere that takes out in one hit, while doing some damage to the battlefield. For a moment, everyone is left speechless as they try to figure out what happened until Brock speaks up, having figured it out. Like Max said, this is Lucario's first battle as a form of sport, since having lived in an ancient era of war, battling was always a matter of life or death for it, so it doesn't know how to hold back its powers to not overdo things. Hanging its head in shame, Lucario confesses that it never even considered the need to restrain itself that way, so it sincerely apologizes. Though Ash tells it not to worry about it since it was an honest mistake, while Greta grins that she'll just have to use a Pokemon that can handle its best, with this being Medicham. At once, Lucario notices something interesting about this Pokemon. It has a powerful aura too, and so reaching out with its own aura, it finds that the Meditate Pokemon is able to register this, suggesting a level of control. Being equally fascinated that the fighting Steel type can also use aura, and that it comes from a more warlike time, Medicham endeavors to help Lucario, so that as their battle begins, it feels less like a contest between rivals and more like a sparring session, as it helps Lucario to modulate its power, while in turn the canine shares some of its aura-based fighting style that allowed it and Sir Aaron to survive many conflicts. Through this, both Pokemon feel as though they have grown, so when they finally decide to stop training and have an actual fight, it is with the knowledge they are both better for having met each other. Ultimately, however, there can only be one winner in the official sense, and this time it is Lucario. As while Medicham has a type advantage while also resisting the Steel Fighter's moves, Lucario simply has more combat experience and raw strength honed by Sir Aaron. Nonetheless, when the time comes to leave the battle arena, Lucario is sure to show its gratitude and respect for Medicham, promising to continue what they started here today, while also wishing it well in its own training. And never being one to break a promise, Lucario immediately sets to work continuing its own training, both in this new more modern style of battling, and also to further its own aura control, though it does not do so alone, as it invites Ash to join it, suggesting he can help it with the former while it can help him with the latter. Eager to help a friend and learn more about his latent aura abilities, Ash happily accepts, with this becoming a part of their daily routine, much like how he soon begins working with Pikachu to master Volt Tackle. This continues on for a while, with the next event of note coming not long after Ash's win at the Battle Dome, when he and his friends run into Solana, a Pokemon Ranger on a mission to help Celebi. At once, Lucario develops a deep respect for these Rangers, as they're reminded of the Aura Guardians as a group of travelling do-gooders, and while there isn't much you can do to affect the events of this adventure on a macro level, it is still able to contribute in small ways, like defending Celebi from Team Rocket when it's exhausted, allowing it to regain its strength and complete its mission of stopping a forest fire. For this kindness, Celebi makes Lucario an offer before it leaves, to return it to its own time so it can be with Sir Aaron again, and maybe even avert his fate. Naturally, the thought that their friend might be leaving them saddens Ash and the others, though surprisingly, Lucario declines, since in his final message, Aaron said he had no regrets, so it's not its place to change his path. Instead, it will honor its master's legacy the best way it can, by continuing to pass on the teachings of the Aura Guardians to Ash. Respecting this, Celebi departs, while Ash and Lucario continue their own training, with both seeing good progress, as Ash can now sense the life energy of others, even if his range and ability to tell individuals apart is still somewhat lacking, while Lucario begins sparring with Ash's other Pokemon now that it is sure it won't hurt them, giving it some more experience with modern battling. This latter exercise proves rather useful, not just for Lucario but also the team, since on top of giving them a strong training partner that allows them to make things like the battle against Pike Queen Lucy that little bit easier, it also allows Lucario and the other Pokemon to build up a rapport, which in turn allows Lucario to recognize Sceptile's heartbreak after it is rejected by Meganium. Having felt a similar grief when it believed Sir Aaron betrayed and abandoned it, Lucario is quick to offer its support, as well as helping to guide and mentor it in getting its power back once it becomes clear that it can't use moves due to its mental and emotional block. As Sceptile is a stoic Pokemon much like itself, Lucario primarily does this by introducing it to meditation and other exercises that its master did with it when it was first learning to draw out its aura for combat, these proving quite effective, as Sceptile attempts to bring its dormant power back to the surface. Even Ash helps out once he learns that Sceptile is struggling, and while he finds the stillness of meditation challenging, he still sticks with it to help his buddy, further proving that he is indeed the same kind of person as Sir Aaron. Thanks to this, Sceptile is back in fighting shape by the time they reach Metallica Island, allowing Ash to challenge Spencer directly, and Sceptile to pull off an impressive win while Lucario watches on proudly. However, he won't have to watch from the sidelines for much longer, as on the way to the Battle Tower, it and Ash meet a girl named Annabelle while saving Pikachu from Team Rocket, though the ensuing scuffle ends with them all falling in a stream. As a result, they along with Brock, May and Max head back to Annabelle's place to dry off, where the girl is quick to comment on the strong bond Ash has with both Pikachu and Lucario. Having taken a liking to the lilac-haired stranger, Ash and Lucario fill around their history and how the fighting steel type is the boy's aura mentor, with this in particular intriguing Annabelle, since while she isn't familiar with aura, she does wonder if it's like her psychic powers, revealing her own abilities and suggesting maybe they could compare them in a battle. Despite always being keen for a battle, Ash regretfully asks if they can do it another time, since right now he's looking for the frontier brain of the Battle Tower so he can get his next symbol, to which Annabelle playfully admonishes that it's rather presumptuous of him to assume he'll get her symbol, before introducing herself as Salon Maiden Annabelle, so maybe their battle was preordained. Grinning eagerly, Ash agrees, with the pair going to the tower together, where it is announced they will have a 3-on-3 battle, with Annabelle's first choice being Alakazam, while Ash picks Corphish. Like Canon, Annabelle's ability to communicate telepathically with her Pokemon results in Corphish falling against the Psy Pokemon, though it does put up a bit of a better fight. While diverging from the main timeline plan, Ash's Pikachu come in second, allowing him to take Alakazam down. In its place, the Salon Maiden next reveals Metagross, and as is often the way when Pikachu faces off against that particular species, he gets mollywopped, forcing Ash to call him back before he can be knocked out, while asking Lucario to step in so they can truly test how Aura compares to psychic power. Having also wanted to conduct this test, the Blue Jackal agrees, this time facing a foe who matches its steel typing rather than its fighting. Ultimately, however, the question of which power set is superior comes up inconclusive, as Lucario manages to fight the pseudo-legendary to a draw, resulting in a double knockout that makes the final match Pikachu vs Espeon. Fortunately, due to the addition of a strong training partner, the Electric Rodent manages to pull out a win, meaning Ash gets his ability symbol on the first try, while Annabelle praises him and his team for their trust and synchronicity. Following this, the gang get back on the road, which before long leads them to crossing paths with Solana once again, this time as she pursues a Deoxys who is acting strangely. Vowing to help, Ash and co join her in this quest, with them quickly coming across the rapidly shifting extraterrestrial. Thankfully, here Ash and Lucario's time working on their aura abilities pays off, as while the steel fighting type tries to communicate with Deoxys about why it's acting this way, Ash is able to sense the meteorite that is emitting strange, painful waves. Through this teamwork, Lucario is able to stop Deoxys from kidnapping Max and Meowth by engaging it in a combination of conversation and combat, while Ash and the rest of his Pokemon manage to destroy the meteorite, ending Deoxys' suffering and allowing it to hold a single form as it flies off to explore the world and beyond. And this is not the only time Ash and Lucario's aura abilities come in handy, as they soon find themselves in a series of ruins near Pewter City, where they come across Pyramid King Brandon searching for an ancient artifact that some legends say contain a sealed Ho-Oh. Rather than running off half-cocked, Ash and Lucario actually prove instrumental, as by combining their powers, they're able to sense the ancient Pokeball and lead Brandon there without triggering every trap along the way. However, as they draw nearer, the pair sense a distinct malevolence from the object, so that when they reach the throne room and find it sitting ominously on the throne, they don't touch it, instead allowing Brandon to bag it up safely, and thus keep the evil king of Pokelantis sealed away. Consequently, instead of scolding Ash for being a fool, the Pyramid King has a rather high opinion of the boy and his comrade when they return to the Battle Pyramid, with this esteem only growing when Lucario reveals itself as Sir Aaron's companion. Since as a lover of the ancient past, he has naturally heard of the hero, and has nothing but praise for his and Lucario's deeds. When this swapping of stories is over, the three of them head down to the battlefield where Brandon gives Ash the same one-on-one terms he'd give the King of Pokelantis in canon, even using Regirock, while Ash and Lucario are in perfect agreement that they earned this battle together, so they should conduct it side by side. Additionally, this battle will also serve as a good indication of their growth since the Tree of Beginning, as when they fought the Regis there, they could do little more than run, since even their best attacks were at most a minor irritant. Keeping this in mind, Ash and Lucario attempt to play smart here, making use of Lucario's significantly superior mobility when compared to Regirock, detect to sense incoming threats, and super effective aura spheres to allow them to fight at a distance where the stony golem cannot grab the steely fighter. With all these advantages, the duo of Ash and Lucario still do not prevail, as the might of a legendary Pokemon is just too great to overcome at this point, though to their credit they give the Pyramid King a run for his money, something Brandon praises them both on when the battle is done, stating that they did everything right, and it was simply a gap in power that gave him the win, so if they keep up their training, he has every confidence they could win in a rematch. To this end, the pair redouble their efforts, working tirelessly both at Lucario's battling and Ash's aura abilities, even finding ways to implement this training into their daily lives and travels, such as when Ash senses a horde of Apom coming, allowing Lucario to fend them off and protect the boy's hat from a particularly cheeky one, or also when they come across a giant slacking, only to notice it gives off no passive aura, and to look closer, finding it is perhaps Team Rocket's most sly mech yet, though even it is no match for a barrage of aura spheres that Lucario can now create in rapid succession thanks to Ash. Even when offered some downtime to watch May compete in the Grand Festival, Ash and Lucario do not stop, at least not fully, as while they do support their friend, they also take time out to continue working on themselves, especially since with Apom having been scared off in the initial encounter, there are no distractions. And so it is that finally our heroes receive word that Brandon is stationed the battle pyramid in Fennel Valley, with Ash and Lucario both being determined to ensure that this time they will be the ones who emerge victorious and claim the Brave symbol. Following a last-minute training battle against a surprisingly strong Nurse Joy and her Chansey, Ash and Lucario confront Brandon once again, who offers them a one-on-one, this time against Registeel. Knowing there can only be one choice for his partner, Ash does not even bother asking the Aura Pokemon, instead simply taking his place in the trainer box while Lucario moves out onto the field. As promised, the Pyramid King brings out the Titan of Steel for this battle, and while physically it is quite similar to Regirock, in practice it is remarkably different, showing an agility and willingness to fight up close with Metal Claw that the sedentary sedimentary stone had not. As May's Pokédex helpfully points out, this is because its body is hollow, with this giving Ash and Lucario an idea, as they change tack and begin fighting at close range, aiming for body blows that will knock Registeel over. Due to its light frame and small legs, a good kick is all it takes to achieve this, leaving the Golem prone and vulnerable to a super effective Aura Sphere volley. However, they are not the only ones who can concoct a strategy, as Brandon next reveals his combo of Lock-On and Zap Cannon, creating an unerring blast that nothing can deflect. Worse still, when Lucario is struck by one of these attacks, painful jolts of electricity race up its body, reminding it and Ash of the Tree of Beginning as it is paralyzed. Though, like the Tree of Beginning, the pair refuse to fall here, coming together to create a power neither can hope for on their own, with Ash using his growing aura sight to probe Registeel for weak points, freeing Lucario up to channel all its strength into attacking with aura spheres and defending itself with Detect. Such a strategy impresses Brandon, who states that it's like seeing the second coming of the Aura Guardians of old, so in return, let him show them the full might of a frontier brain, with him ordering a Zap Cannon using all of Registeel's strength. Well, in turn, Ash cries for Lucario to match this with Aura Sphere. Growling that the aura is with it, the Steel Fighter obeys, manifesting a version of the attack larger than any it has made before, while behind it, Ash offers some of his own aura in a testament to their bond and determination to win. Though he is not the only one, as just when Lucario is about to fire, it suddenly feels the familiar gloved hand of Sir Aaron on its shoulder, steadying its paralyzed paw. This sensation lasts only for a second, vanishing before the Aura Pokemon can even look back, though knowing in its heart that this was real and that Aaron is always with it, it unleashes its attack. For a moment, the two blasts clash in midair, kicking up dust and shockwaves, though even the power of a legendary Pokemon cannot withstand the bond of three Aura Guardians passed down from one another across space and time, so that in a flash, Zap Cannon is subsumed, and then a few seconds later, so is Registeel. No one is uncertain as to what the outcome of this will be, so that when the dust settles and Samuel the referee raises his flag, it is a foregone conclusion that the Iron Pokemon is unable to battle, making Ash and Lucario the winners. As one, the pair run up to each other, though instead of a hug or even a high five, when they meet, it is with a bow, as both wish to pay their respect to the friend who has taught them so much. As is customary when one defeats the final frontier brain, Ash is then offered a chance to train as one himself, a tempting offer as it would mean a life of battling strong opponents that Scott has curated for him. However, in spite of this, Ash still refuses, since while battling is great, he wants to keep seeing the world and helping people in Pokemon too, a sentiment Lucario quite agrees with. Respecting this decision, Scott and Brandon wish Ash and his friends well, with the group next heading off to Terracotta Town, which will serve as the site of their final goodbye, as May and Max depart for the Johto region while Brock is set to return to Pewter City. This just leaves Ash and Lucario, with the Raven-haired youth questioning if it intends to go back to Cameron Palace now that this journey is done. For a time, Lucario seems to consider this. Then, after a pause, it shakes its head, admitting that while it does intend to fulfill its duty to Lady Eileen, it still has its promise to Ash that it must keep. Since while he has advanced a long way since the day they met, there are still many secrets of Aura for it to teach the boy. We pick back up with Ash, Pikachu and Lucario as their ship docks in the Sinnoh region, for what will be the start of a brand new adventure. Though before they can get that underway, they must first deal with a trio of crooks up to their old tricks, Team Rocket, as having followed them to Sinnoh, they now attempt to steal Pikachu once again. Like canon, this confrontation goes explosively, with Pikachu being sent blasting off for once, much to Ash's worry, while Lucario is struck with an immense sense of guilt, since if it hadn't let its guard down, it would have sensed the villains and sent them packing. But instead, Ash and Pikachu have now been forced to endure another separation just like when it first met them. To this end, it joins Ash in searching for Pikachu, with the pair using their aura to try and track him down, though when they find that he has flown beyond the radius of what their aura sight allows, they split up to look, with Ash catching Starly like in canon to assist with the search. Fortunately, it is not long before they learn that Pikachu was found by a new trainer named Dawn, and after meeting up with her and reuniting with the electric rodent, Ash, Lucario and a newly rejoined Brock invite her to travel with them. Now with the gang rounded out, the group continue on, though first there is one more key encounter to be had, as they run into a purple-haired boy Ash had met earlier, and who had dismissed him then, but is now interested in battling him since he has 3 Pokemon on hand. Agreeing to a 3-on-3, Ash and the boy who they learn is named Paul begin, starting with a Starly vs Starly match that the purple-haired youth wins, though even from this brief exchange, Ash and Lucario can both tell that they don't like him very much, as he is ruthless and abrasive, with a cold note to his aura that sets them both on edge. Wanting to test this stranger directly, Lucario decides to battle next, and against a newly caught Starly this is not much of a match, with Lucario blasting it out of the sky with a single aura sphere. Deeming this performance from his Pokemon pathetic, Paul wastes no time in releasing it, with this only angering Lucario more, as it growls that Starly fought for him, so how can he abandon it? Dismissively, Paul retorts that it failed to deliver results, so it's useless to him, an idea that strikes at the very heart of Lucario's abandonment issues, though if it thought it hated the boy already, it is nothing compared to what it feels when Paul brings out his next pick, Chimchar. While this has been an act of pragmatism rather than cruelty on the purple-haired youth's part, as he has recognized that Lucario is strong and therefore hopes a battle against it will trigger Blaze, the moment Chimchar bursts from its ball, the Aura Pokemon feels the fear and trauma radiating off it like a chill. While it has not lost all its hope or the affection it has for its trainer, it is clear this Pokemon has suffered far more than one so young ever should, refusing to add to this pain as it already knows that it is stronger than Chimchar, so to fight it would be a heartless, cowardly act. Lucario tells Ash that it is unwilling to fight, and counsels him against continuing the battle. Knowing Lucario would not say this without a reason, the Raven-Head boy reaches out with his own less developed aura senses, though even they have no trouble seeing and recognizing Chimchar's emotional state. In a tone of outrage, Ash demands to know what Paul has done to this poor Pokemon, and while the other boy feels it is none of his business, he simply states that he already said he values results, and so do his Pokemon, so he's helping Chimchar reach its potential. In that moment, it is unclear whose growl is louder, Ash or Lucario's, though it is clear they are of the same mind. As Ash barks them from where he's standing, it looks like he's trying to break Chimchar. Then, without another word, boy and dog turn on their heels and storm away, not caring that this is a technical forfeit, while Paul coldly tells their backs that they are both too soft. From here, things resume their canon course for a time, as Ash also adds Turtwig to his roster and Starly evolves into Staravia, while Dawn undertakes her first contest on the way to Oreburgh City. During this time they also do briefly encounter Paul again, though here it is they who have the last laugh, as while Paul struggles with the Illusion Forest, they're able to use their aura vision to cross without issue. Finally, after several weeks, they arrive in Oreburgh, the site of Ash's first Sinnoh Gym, with things getting off to a good start, as Turtwig's able to take out Rock's Geodude and even land some blows on Onix, while Pikachu finishes the Rock Snake off, then does battle against the gym leader's ace Craniados. Unfortunately, here is where things start to take a bit of a turn, as due to Pikachu being stronger and more of a challenge than in canon, Craniados' desire to win for its trainer pushes it to evolve early. Not only that, but with the power gained from its evolution, it is able to defeat Pikachu, forcing Ash to call in Lucario as his last pick. However, here Rampardos proves a real problem, since while the Steely fighter attempts to blast with Aura Sphere, the ancient Pokemon is able to counter, ramming the attacks with its platy skull and detonating them prematurely so that some of the damage is lost. Not only that, but it also possesses a powerful Zen headbutt that does massive damage to Lucario, sending it crashing into the wall and forcing it to use Detect to avoid being defeated then and there. Though this does give Ash an idea, as he has Lucario retreat towards another wall and wait there, As he had hoped, Rampardos and Rock fall for this trap, with Lucario sliding under its legs when it charges, causing Rampardos to slam its head into the wall so that its own monstrous strength is turned against it. Not only that, but its back is also exposed, allowing Lucario to get off an aura sphere that downs it, though the closeness of this match is not lost on either Ash or Lucario, who realize they need to do some serious training, as well as expand the Aura Pokemon's moveset, otherwise they run the risk of falling behind. To this end, on top of their continued aura training, the duo set to work developing a new move for Lucario. This is a surprisingly difficult task, though due to their deep bond they do manage somewhat, since after a lot of hard work, Lucario is able to manifest something that looks like a glow stick in one of its paws, though this is about all the progress they make, with the move, if it even is a move, being too undercooked to use or identify. Nonetheless, the pair don't stop, even as they pass Floroma Town and Eterna City, with the next event of note for Lucario coming when Ash and Co find Paul battling Cynthia. Like Canon, she defeats him without breaking a sweat, though while Paul's Pokemon are being taken care of and Chimchar is being given a massage, she takes some time to talk with him, Ash, and his friends, including Lucario. In fact, after a good look, she reveals that she actually recognizes the Aura Pokemon, having seen it in drawings. Since as a lover of history and myth, she is well aware of the legend of Sir Aaron and his partner, with this earning a respectful bow from Lucario, while Paul muses this must be why Ash's Lucario is different from most, though when the other boy asks what he means, he refuses to elaborate. Following this, Ash soon runs into another rival, or former rival, Garryoak, who Lucario briefly met during Ash's return to Pallet Town before they came to Sinnoh. At present, he's helping protect a group of Shieldon from a Pokemon hunter named J, and while unlike Canon this is Ash's first time meeting her, he and his friends immediately stand against her on principle. Using their aura, Ash and Lucario do their best to forge a path that will allow them to avoid J, though unfortunately, her Salamence is far faster and stronger than they anticipated, zeroing in on them before they can get away as she demands they hand over the shield on or else. Naturally, the heroes refuse, with Lucario's denial in particular interesting her, since Lucario who can use telepathy will surely fetch a high price. Here Jay reveals another surprising advantage, as her wrist cannon freezes Lucario into a bronze statue with only a single blast. Then, before anyone can react, she scoops up her catch and flies away. Having never imagined such a thing was possible, everyone is horrified. Though vowing to get Lucario back, Ash along with his friends give chase and even manage to sneak onto Hunter Jay's airship undetected, with it not taking them long to find the room where the captured Pokemon are being held. However, when they go to unfreeze Lucario, something happens that none of them anticipated. The Aura Pokemon attacks. In a confused voice, Dawn asks why Lucario would do something like this. While sighing deeply, Brock explains how Lucario spent hundreds of years trapped inside a staff when it thought its old master had abandoned it, so being put in suspended animation again must have re-traumatized it. As is often the case in matters of intuition, Brock is right, since like when it saw the time flower of itself being sealed in the staff, Lucario is in a state of heightened agitation, unable to control itself as it fires off aura spheres in all directions, with the heroes having to dive out of the way to avoid being blasted. In fact, the devastation is so great that Hunter Jay's airship quickly begins to fall out of the sky, though this is the last thing on Ash's mind as he runs to Lucario's side and urges it to snap out of it, hoping this will work like it did during their trip to the Tree of Beginning. Unfortunately, this time he won't be so lucky, as in its frenzied state, it cannot even recognize its friend, swatting him away painfully before continuing its panicked onslaught. Sensing no anger in its aura, as all he can feel is panic and old heartbreak becoming fresh again, Ash next attempts to calm Lucario down with his own aura, using the skills it taught him to convey a sense of peace and safety, with this at last reaching Lucario, and allowing it to regain its composure, though upon spotting that it struck Ash, it apologizes profusely. Truthfully, the boy is just happy that it's okay, telling it not to sweat it, before urging it and his friends to follow him since they need to get off this airship before it crashes. Evidently, they aren't the only ones thinking this, as Hunter J also makes her getaway atop Salamence, though the same cannot be said for her henchmen, all of whom are rounded up by Gary, Professor Rowan, and Officer Jenny, who consider this day a win, as they have seriously hampered Jay's Pokemon hunting endeavors. From here, the group resume their course to Hearthome City, with them making good time, since while they do still get separated in a large maze on the way, there's a non-issue, with Ash and Lucario's aura abilities allowing them to find their friends and each other, while also showing how much the boys' aura sense has improved since losing Pikachu on their first day in Sinnoh. Following this, it is only a short trip till they arrive in the city itself, and while Ash is unable to challenge the gym since its leader is absent, Dawn gets to compete in the Hearthome contest. Unfortunately, this ends in a crushing defeat for the girl, with the group attempting to lift their collective spirits by taking part in the local tag tournament. However, this comes with its own nasty surprise, as Ash is paired with none other than Paul, and while neither of them are particularly happy about this, Lucario is the most displeased, telling Ash plainly that it does not want to take part in the tournament if it means fighting by Paul's side. As a result, it sits out the day's battles, though that evening, it and Ash both sense Chimchar in pain, with this leading them into the woods, where they see Paul ordering his Pokemon to gang up on the little fire type. Without even thinking, Lucario leaps in to deflect these attacks, while in its paw bursts a glowing staff akin to Sir Aaron's, with this being the completed version of the attack it and Ash have been working on, Bone Rush. Using this both to protect and inspire hope like its master did, Lucario swings this in a wide arc, batting away several attacks while Chimchar looks up in awe, though sadly, even if the move is completed, it is not yet mastered, so that after a few swings, it vanishes, leaving Lucario exposed to take the remaining attacks in the young monkey's place, dropping it painfully to one knee. Meanwhile, Ash demands to know what's wrong with Paul, who explains the story of how he met and caught Chimchar after it displayed that incredible blaze ability, and how he's sought to bring that out ever since. Naturally, both Ash and Lucario are appalled, but the purple-haired youth tells them to spare him the recrimination, stating that he's been reading up on Sir Aaron since they last crossed paths, and from what he's seen, his training with Chimchar and its latent blaze is no different from how that legendary hero pushed Lucario to awaken and harness its aura. Growling this cold-hearted child has no right to compare himself to Sir Aaron, Lucario protests that yes, its master pushed it, but he also showed it kindness and respect, while in contrast, all Paul is doing is terrorizing Chimchar. Having no desire to be told what to do by a pathetic pair of soft-hearted idiots, Paul doesn't dignify this with a response, taking his Pokemon and going, much to Ash and Lucario's frustration. Nonetheless, they are forced to come together again the following day for the next round of the tournament, and when one of their opponents uses Zangoose, Paul sees his chance to prove himself right and chooses Chimchar. Remembering the story from last night and sensing the distress in its aura from this matchup, Lucario steps in to be its partner, with its focus being on eliminating Zangoose quickly to protect Chimchar. This in turn only angers Paul since it's ruining his test, with him going so far as to order Chimchar to attack Lucario, though here the monkey refuses, allowing Lucario to finish off Zangoose. Unfortunately, this is the last straw, as Paul officially gives up on Chimchar, forcing Ash to command both Pokemon and take out Metagross, though even this victory is not enough, as when the match ends, Paul releases the Fire Starter. Thankfully, like Cannon, Ash is on hand to invite Chimchar to join his team, an offer the monkey gleefully accepts, with the boy even using it in the finals to score them a decisive victory. Following this, our heroes return to the road, with Lucario spending much of its time mentoring Chimchar, since following the incident in the woods, the little fire type has come to greatly admire the Aura Hound. Being acutely familiar with the pain of abandonment by a partner, Lucario serves as an empathetic confidant, allowing Chimchar to express its feelings in a safe environment, including its confusion around how different things are in Ash's team than they were with Paul, with the transition being a little easier, though still quite emotionally turbulent. In an attempt to help Chimchar deal with these feelings, Lucario also introduces it to meditation, since it will hopefully allow it to regulate its emotions without having to suppress them entirely like it did under Paul. Showing that it's a quick study, Chimchar grasps the basics fairly easily, though it does also take time for play with the other Pokemon, something Ash and Lucario both agree it more than deserves after all it's been through. Continuing on to Veilstone, the group have several notable encounters, the most relevant to Lucario being when they discover an Aura Guardian once saved a village by sealing a Spiritomb away, a feat they must now repeat when a training accident releases the very same Spiritomb back into the world. Fortunately, having far more Aura training than in canon, Ash with help from Lucario and Pikachu is able to draw the Pokemon back into its containment, earning the praise of the village who hail him as a true guardian of Aura, though this title is not the only thing he gains, as while he does not get Buizel since he cannot trade Apom over to Dawn, he does still manage to catch Gligar, with this also being his first encounter with Paul since Hearthome, though the other boy has no interest in him, simply catching the Alpha Gliscor then departing. But this is not Paul's only impact, as when they reach Veilstone, is to learn that he has shattered the self-confidence of the gym leader Maylene, forcing Dawn to have a pick-me-up battle with her so she can regain her fighting spirit and accept Ash's challenge. For the first two matches involving Staravia and Chimchar, these go as canon, with both earning a knockout, though when Maylene calls out her own Lucario, they both promptly fall to the Aura Dog, leaving Ash's Lucario as the deciding battler. This is Lucario's first time battling another of its species, with this coming as a fascinating experience, though also a learning one, as it is able to see how different it is from the Lucario of the modern day, Most obviously is the way in which Maylene's partner battles. As while both have been honed as warriors by determined masters, the pink-haired girl clearly knows nothing of aura, so while the other Lucario can harness it for aura spheres and some extrasensory perception, it lacks the finer points such as telepathic speech. In fact, the fact that Ash's Lucario can do this at all amazes Maylene, having never known one to speak this way, with it and Ash wondering if perhaps this is what Paul had meant when he called it different. As for the battle itself, it is a close one, as Maylene's Lucario is exceptionally well trained, with its mastery of Bone Rush surpassing Lucario's own, so that more than once it has swept off its feet or slammed into the gym floor. Though having the adaptability of a warrior, Lucario uses this, learning as it fights, so that soon it is able to clash with its counterpart on even footing. Then, demonstrating the area in which it is superior, it manifests an aura sphere that the younger canine simply cannot match, blasting into the gym ceiling and ending the match with a win for Ash. Now that the Cobble badge is in his case, Ash next sets his sights on Shalour City, though there are several challenges that stand in his and Lucario's way, starting with a brief skirmish with Team Galactic before running into Hunter J again. Though here they are also reunited with Solana and her ranger comrade Kellen, as they attempt to protect a stolen Riolu from Jay and a new group of cronies she's managed to assemble. Feeling an innate protectiveness towards its pre-evolution, Lucario stands as one of Riolu's primary protectors as they attempt to escort it back to Paradise Kingdom, with this resulting in another clash with Jay, who now attempts to steal both Riolu and Lucario. However, having learned from its last experience as her captive, Lucario does not hold back, using what it gleaned from Maylene's Lucario to ram its Bone Rush into a wrist launcher, severely damaging it, before it and Riolu combine their auras to manifest a massive aura sphere that drives her off, much to the amazement and admiration of everyone present. Though, just because there's a soft spot for Riolu does not mean Lucario neglects either of its students, continuing aura training with Ash, or meditating and conducting some sparring with Chimchar, a fact that becomes relevant when they run into Paul again, who demands a battle when he sees the fire in Chimchar's eyes. For the most part, this goes as canon, with Gliscor crushing Gligar while Chimchar squares off against Ursaring, for it quickly turns into a one-sided beating in the bear's favour. However, everything changes when Blaze ignites, as while at first Chimchar does rampage, when Ash and Lucario are reminded of their training, it is able to force itself to calm down and return to normal. Unfortunately, this does not mean it has control of the power, far from it, as the effort of regulating itself proves too much for Chimchar, knocking it out, all the while Paul scoffs, asking why Ash would try to stop it from using its full strength. In response, Ash explains that this is just the first step, as while he does plan to help Chimchar harness Blaze one day, that'll happen when Chimchar's ready, not when he demands it. Seeing this as sentimentality getting in the way of results, Paul turns and walks away, leaving this match inconclusive just like their first one, though to Ash and Lucario, Chimchar's growing strength of will is a win in their book. Following this, the group arrive in Shalour City, where Ash challenges Crash or Wake. Here Gligar takes Weasel's place, since Ash feels more confident in its ability to handle serious battling, as it has grown a lot as part of his team. Unfortunately, while the little glider has heart, it is still part ground type in a water gym, meaning Ash loses this one. However, it is by no means a bad loss, so after a couple of days of training, he and his Pokemon have another go and manage to claim their Fen badge this time. From here, the next event of note is the Summer Academy, though Lucario doesn't do much here, instead choosing to observe from the sidelines. However, when the Ghost Girl appears, it is able to sense its malevolent presence and help clear Dusknoir's name, so that no one is drawn to the spirit world and the portal is safely closed. This skill also comes in handy when they reach Celestic Town, since here they meet a man named Cyrus, who while seemingly cheerful, emits no aura at all, like something already dead. This stands out to both Ash and Lucario, who watch him carefully. That is until Team Galactic break in. Fortunately, the heroes with Lucario's help are able to fight off them and Team Rocket, protecting the lustrous orb, though even afterwards, the pair have to agree there was something definitely not right about Cyrus. From here, another patch of canon takes place where Lucario has little impact, during which time Ash's Turtwig evolves into Groddle and he wins his battle with Fantina, earning him the Relic Badge. With this, the group next head to Canalave City, where Lucario once more subs in for Buizel at the gym, netting Ash another win, as after Chimchar beats Bronzor in a hard-fought match, Lucario decimates Bastiodon on Steelix, since all its moves are either super effective or quad effective against them. With this out of the way, the group prepare to leave, though when they get reports that all the steel types on Iron Island have begun acting oddly, Ash and co agree to go investigate. Travelling by boat, they soon reach the island, where they find all the Pokemon have heightened aggression, attacking anything including themselves, while Ash and Lucario sense confusion in their auras, suggesting that something is addling their brains. is. For a moment, the group worry that this might start affecting Lucario too, though by using Aura it is able to protect itself, even if it does admit that it feels as though something is trying to pierce its mind, so it must stay focused. However, this may be easier said than done, as before long Ash and Lucario sense something strange, another pair of powerful auras that aren't hostile, and in fact feel oddly familiar. As the superior aura user, though not by much anymore, Lucario leads the group towards these peculiar presences, though when they arrive, it sees something it never thought it would again, as standing in the path of a rampaging Aggron is Sir Aaron. At the sight of its master back from the dead, Lucario is left speechless, unable to comprehend how this is possible, or how Sir Aaron wound up in this place and time. However, right now, that is secondary, as refusing to let him die again, the Aura Hound leaps in to stop Aggron's charge with a Bone Rush, while from over its shoulder an Aura Sphere strikes the wild Steel type in the face. This is thankfully enough to drive it off, and as Lucario looks back, it sees another Lucario standing at Sir Aaron's side. For a moment, hurt and betrayal course through the ancient Pokemon like fire, though having learned to trust that its master may have reasons he has not told it, it stifles these feelings and kneels, questioning what Sir Aaron is doing here. For a moment, the man looks slightly confused, before laughing that he's afraid Lucario has him mixed up with his ancestor. His name is Riley, and there's no need to kneel before him, since he's still just an Aura Guardian in training. By now, Ash and Co have joined Lucario and Riley, with them conducting introductions while learning that Riley and his Lucario are here on the same mission as them, to stop whatever's hurting the Steel types. Seeing they have common cause, the heroes all agree to work together, and so using Riley's intel begin making their way towards the Iron Ruins, since this is the most probable source of the disturbance. As they go, Lucario expresses pleasure that the Aura Guardians still exist, since from the way others have spoken about them, it had come to believe they were extinct, with Riley sadly admitting that they are very few in number these days, and only a shadow of their former selves, since during a time when the people of Sinnoh were distrustful of Pokemon, the bond between Aura Guardians and their partners was seen as unnatural. As a result, angry short-sighted humans went so far as to drive them out of their settlements and destroy many of their ancient texts, causing much of the Aura Guardians' history and abilities to be lost to time, with one such skill being the use of Aura Telepathy. So nowadays, Lucario may be the only one of its kind who can do that in the whole world. Troubled by the fact that people would do such a thing, Ash calls this awful, while a more ponderous Lucario proposes that perhaps it can help recover some of what was lost, as it still remembers what Sir Aaron taught it, even if it never learned all the Aura Guardian's secrets. In a tone of gratitude, Riley admits that anything would be an immense help to his order, though this discussion will have to be finished at a later date, as it is at this point that they reach the ruins. Here they find Commander Mars, who is indeed responsible for the Steel type suffering thanks to a machine that is emitting a low frequency, though it seems she is not done, as placing an item called the Spear Key into the machine, she is able to amplify the power of the waves, with the intent of focusing them to find the location of the long-lost Spear Pillar. Unfortunately, this power increase at such close range proves too much for the two Lucario's aura shields, which promptly crack, sending them both into a primal berserk state. Luckily, Ash has some experience with a similar problem back when Lucario had its freak out on Hunter J's ship, allowing him to lead Riley as the pair synchronize their auras and reach out to their partners. At first, this proves unsuccessful thanks to the strength of the frequency, forcing Brock and Dawn to hold off the fighting Steel types, though in the end, Ash and Riley's bond with their respective Lucario proves stronger, breaking through and allowing the Aura Dogs to reground themselves and re-establish their shields. Ash's Lucario in particular expresses its gratitude, praising Ash's growing control of Aura, before all of them turn to confront Mars so they can make her pay for what she's done. Unfortunately for her, unlike Canon where she only had 2 Aura wielders to contend with, now she has 4, with the pair of Lucarios using theirs to sync up, becoming a flawless unit as they effortlessly take out her Purugly and destroy her machine earlier than the main timeline, meaning when she's forced to flee, it is with less data than she would have liked. However, she does at least still know that Spear Pillar is somewhere on Mount Coronet, with this being good enough for her leader. Meanwhile, she prepares to get some payback on the brats who thwarted her, cackling that she's laid a series of bombs under the ruins and now will blow Iron Island back to the Stone Age. Knowing they can't find and defuse all these bombs in time, Riley once more calls on Ash's help along with the 2 Lucarios, as by uniting their auras, they're able to create a mass aura sphere that contains the resultant explosion long enough to hurl it into the sky, saving themselves and Iron Island. Shortly after this, the group are contacted by Cynthia's grandmother, Professor Carolina, who requests that Riley stay here to continue studying the ruins, since it may give them some clue as to what Team Galactic is up to. Seeing the logic in this, Riley agrees, and requests that Lucario stay too, since it would make things easier, and maybe it could teach him and his Lucario some of its long-lost abilities while they work. Solemnly, Lucario admits that it did promise that, and so will make good on it, but it made a promise to Ash first, so until that is complete, it will not leave his side. Understanding and respecting this, Riley assures Lucario that he will welcome its assistance at any time, with the two groups going their separate ways, as Ash and his friends begin heading north towards Snowpoint City. For the most part, this journey goes like canon, with the group encountering Paul again and Ash actually beating him in the Pokeringer, while Staravia evolves into Staraptor. This winning streak then continues as not long after Ash also managed to earn his 7th badge by defeating Candace, though before he and his friends can get back on the road, they see Brandon's battle pyramid flying overhead and go take a look, being surprised to find Paul battling him. Like canon, Paul loses rather badly, with the sting only getting worse when he learns that Ash defeated Brandon and one of his titans alongside Lucario. Seeing this as a chance for both young trainers to grow, Paul's brother Reggie proposes they have a full battle in 10 days, which Paul and Ash both accept, before parting ways they intend to use this prep time to the fullest. However, Ash and co aren't done yet, as when Brandon gets word of Hunter J causing trouble at Snowpoint Temple, he and the kids rush to confront her. As ever, she proves a dangerous foe, almost capturing Reggie Gigas, who is her target, while also turning Reggie Rock, Reggie Steel, and Reg Ice against Brandon, as the four titans rampage. As a result, it falls to Ash, his Pokemon, and especially Lucario to hold them at bay, long enough for Brandon to bring them back to their senses. And while this does also allow Hunter J to escape when it becomes clear she won't be able to claim the Ancient Titan for a client, no one complains, since at least Snowpoint City is safe. Following a goodbye with Brandon, who has decided to stay here with the Reggies and guard the temple, Ash at last goes to train for his full battle with Paul. In order to best do this, the Ravenhead boy devotes some one-on-one time to each of his Pokemon, and wanting to help as it is just as invested in Paul's defeat as Ash is, Lucario steps up to act as a mentor and sparring partner to the other Pokemon. Though, as ever, its special focus is on Chimchar, working to help it contain its stress, since it knows how tough battling Paul was on it before. This includes a lot of meditation and work on centering itself while in a state of heightened emotion, so that while it may not have as much physical training as its peers, it does come into this with a better headspace. Finally, the big day comes, with Ash and Paul squaring off at Lake Acuity, while Brock, Dawn, and Paul's brother Reggie watch. At first, things go like canon, starting with Gliscor versus Torterra, ending in Gliscor almost being defeated and Ash swapping to Staraptor, though this just makes Paul swap to Weavile, knocking out the normal flyer and giving first blood to the purple-haired boy. In response, Ash goes with Grotle, and while Weavile is fast enough to win, Paul instead has Electabuzz come in, though not to battle, instead setting up Light Screen then returning so Ninjask can continue the fight. This proves to be a masterstroke on Paul's part, as by halving the damage of Grotle's Energy Ball, Ninjask is able to outspeed its foe and take it down with super effective bug and flying moves, setting things 2-0 in Paul's favour. Knowing he needs to bring his A-game, Ash next calls in Pikachu, and while this is smart against Ninjask, Paul also recognizes this and swaps to Magmortar. Were that not bad enough, Light Screen is still in effect, halving Pikachu's best moves, and leaving him vulnerably taken out by the Fire-type's powerful Flame Cannon. However, the Electric Rodent does not go down without a fight, so that when Gliscor enters the fray, it is able to finish what Pikachu started and defeat the Fire-type, finally putting a win on the board for Ash. Unfortunately, this is not a pattern he can repeat, as when Ursaring steps up to battle, Gliscor is quickly felled, with it being now that Lucario comes in, as it wants to spare Chimchar the pain of having to battle the Bruiser again. However, Paul has other plans, swapping his normal type out for Ninjask, who he reveals he added onto his team specifically to defeat Lucario, since it quad resists its fighting moves, is immune to Bone Rush, and its speed boost ability is a good counter to the Aura Pokemon's slow but steady style of fighting. Unluckily for Ash and his Aura mentor, this is a devastatingly effective strategy, as while Lucario does its best to blast Ninjask out of the sky, this becomes harder to do with each passing minute. Not only that, but when it comes in to retaliate, Lucario struggles more and more to dodge and counter, since while detecting its Aura abilities allow it to sense the bug flying type coming, it eventually reaches a point where it simply lacks the agility to avoid the attacks, resulting in Lucario falling here so that all of Ash's hopes now rest on Chimchar. This is exactly how Paul wanted it from the start, as now he is free to use that pressure to force Chimchar into activating Blaze, and since he was able to defeat Lucario first, there will be no barking mutt to get in his way like last time. To this end, he has Ninjask continue to assail Chimchar with the speed it gained from battling Lucario, resulting in quickly overwhelming the fire starter. However, things are not quite as hopeless as they seem, as making use of his knack for unconventional strategies, Ash's Chimchar wait until Ninjask closes in before using Flame Wheel to trap it in the burning rotation. Having not expected this, Paul's Pokemon is unable to pull away, taking the super effective damage while being repeatedly run over every time Chimchar's spin puts it back at the bottom, Thanks to this, it is not long before the ninja Pokemon is knocked out cold, though this is just the beginning, as thanks to the elation it feels at finally beating Paul's Pokemon coupled with its newly gained experience in Ash's praise, the Fire Monkey evolves, becoming Monferno with an exultant shriek. Scowling since this is not how he wanted things to go, Paul next uses Electabuzz, with it managing to deal some decent damage, so much so that the fire on Monferno's tail blossoms while its eyes become red with pinprick pupils. Smiling ever so slightly at this transformation, Paul waits to see the explosive power of Blaze, but it never comes, as remembering all its meditation and emotional regulation training with Ash and Lucario, Monferno just barely manages to keep control of itself. This comes as a very unwelcome surprise to Paul, as not only does this suggest some validity to Ash's philosophy, but by using the power boost it now gets from Blaze, Monferno is actually able to finish off Electabuzz, giving the Pokemon he rejected 2 knockouts. Weighing his options carefully, Paul next brings Ursaring back in, hoping to rile Monferno up considering their last battle, and while this does work to a degree, it is not enough to send the fire type into a spiral, as now it goes blow to blow with its larger foe. However, just because Monferno has control does not mean it has mastery, a fact that becomes clear following a particularly explosive clash between itself and Ursaring, as while the attack itself was not enough to down Monferno, the toll of Blaze is, with it having literally burnt itself out from the strain of maintaining its sanity while in this state. As a result, it falls forward with spirals for eyes, bringing the match to a close. Though, just before Paul can scoff and call the monkey pathetic, Ursaring collapses too, making the final bout a double knockout. Nonetheless, as Paul still has Torterra and Weavile, he is declared the winner, though in that moment, Ash's disappointment at losing is vastly overshadowed by his pride in his Pokemon, especially Monferno, as it's come a long way from the timid Chimchar who had no reign over its power. Joining Ash in spite of its injuries, Lucario likewise praises its student for this accomplishment, while promising that moving forward they will work on enhancing its endurance so that it might maintain its blaze state without suffering the intense drawback. Even Reggie gives his praise, having watched the Firestarter's growth both under Ash and Paul, though Paul himself says nothing, simply giving it a contemptuous look since even with Blaze it managed to lose, before turning on his heels and walking away. Due to having defeated 4 of Paul's Pokemon in contrast to his Canon 2, Ash is far less depressed in the days that follow, with the game getting back on the road once more. From here, a long stretch of canon follows, as aside from continuing its training with Ash and Monferno, Lucario is either unable or simply unlikely to affect the string of little one-off adventures that Ash and his friends have as they head to Twinleaf Town for the Twinleaf Festival. Here Ash enters the battle tournament, though due to being a small local affair, he instead uses Pikachu for the main event and Grottle to challenge the Tower Tycoon Palmer, resulting in a hard-fought loss. However, not everything is bad, as from this meeting he learns of the Sunny Shore Gym, and so sets off to challenge Volkner, though before this can happen, many more detours and minor events must occur. Admittedly, the first of these is rather humorous, as when an evil Togepi uses a track to put all the male Pokemon under a spell, the ever-serious Lucario displays a rather grandiose and old-fashioned style of courtly love, vowing to woo the fair maiden through song and chivalry. That is, until Broxapini literally slaps some sense into it, at which point it grows rather quiet for the rest of the adventure, hoping everyone will forget its shame. Fortunately, it is not long before it is able to gain some redemption, as after finding Team Rocket's Meowth wounded by the roadside, our heroes learn that Team Galactic has taken over Fuego Ironworks, leading them to join forces with the Scratch Cat and confront Commander Jupiter, who reveals that Team Galactic is after the Lake Trio, who they intend to control with an item they've been building here called the Red Chain. This immediately leads to a battle in which Lucario's poison immunity makes it a natural counter to Jupiter's Skuntank, forcing the Galactic contingent to flee, while Ash's friends Team Rocket and Interpol agent Looker descend into the Ironworks, where they find that the chain has already been manufactured and transported to Team Galactic HQ. Recognizing this is bad news, they attempt to give chase, joining forces with Cynthia once again as they race to Lake Valor to try and protect the trio of legendary Pokemon, only to find that they are already too late, as the once majestic lake has been bombed and the Lake Trio have been taken, with the culprit for both crimes being none other than Hunter J. This naturally incenses both Ash and Lucario, though before they can confront the Pokemon Hunter, a sudden future sight attack from the captured legend strikes her airship, showing they did not go down quietly, though the same cannot be said of Jay, as the power of this attack is enough to send her ship crashing into the lake, ending her life. This leaves the heroes feeling rather conflicted, especially Lucario, as while it is the most personal grievance with her, it also understands the significance of killing having grown up in an era of war. Sensing his friend's unease through its aura, Ash lays a hand on Lucario's shoulder, though before either aura user can speak, they along with Dawn and Brock are teleported into Team Galactic's headquarters, where they are greeted not just by the 3 Galactic commanders, but by the evil team's leader. At once, Ash and Lucario recognize that void where emotion, hope, anything but sucking emptiness should be, and as they look up, they see the face of Cyrus staring down at them. In a tone that suggests he did not summon them, Cyrus flatly asks what Ash and his friends are doing here, to which our heroes respond that they're going to save the Lake Trio, with Pikachu and Pickled using this moment of confusion to attack the devices containing the legendary Pokemon, while Lucario joins Brock and his Krogunk in warding off the commanders. In canon, this 1-on-3 would end in defeat and capture, though here Lucario hard counters both Skuntank and Pruggly, leaving Toxicroak for Krogunk, and Ash and Dawn the time they need to not only help get the Lake Trio out of containment, but also shatter the red chain fragments lining their heads, thus freeing their minds as well. Naturally, upon being released, the captive trio flee, teleporting to safety, with this being something Cyrus could not have anticipated, as years of careful planning and covert action have been foiled by a couple of children and their Pokemon. This is infuriating. Yes, for the first time in a long time he feels something, and it is incandescent rage. Sensing this in his aura as it goes from dead to blazing, Ash and Lucario yell for the others to watch out, though it is already too late, as shoving his subordinates aside, the Team Galactic boss demands to know if they realize what they've done. Thwarting his plans was one thing, but they have done something far worse. They have infected him with emotion. Now he cannot be worthy of his new perfect world even if he were to create it, so he guesses he'll have to settle for just destroying this one and wiping out the sickness once and for all. Having never heard him speak like this, Mars, Saturn and Jupiter are frightened, though in that moment he pays them no mind, bringing out his Weavile, Houndoom and Honchcrow, which he sicks upon the heroes, evidently intent on making them the first casualties of his new manic path of destruction. This immediately turns the tide, as now Team Galactic have 6 Pokemon on their side against Pikachu, Piplup, Krogunk, and Lucario. Though refusing to let Cyrus get away with any of this, Ash brings out Monferno and Dawn chooses Buizel, so when both sides clash, it is with even numbers. However, this does not mean it is an even fight, as while the Galactic group are fueled by fury or fear of reprisal if they don't follow the new plan, the heroes lean on their bonds of trust and friendship, with this giving them the edge as they seamlessly work together, watching each other's back and picking apart the already fractured alliance of Cyrus and his commanders. As a result, it is not long before the villains' numbers begin to fall, with Krogunk finally getting its win against Toxicroak thanks to Ash and Pikachu's help. Dawn's Piplup and Buizel combine Aqua Jet and Whirlpool to create a spinning jet that finishes off Skuntank and Pruggly, and finally the combined might of Lucario and Monferno's master-student bond defeats Cyrus's remaining Pokemon. This physical manifestation of the power emotions can bring proves too much for Cyrus, who collapses to his knees, unable to understand what he has witnessed, while seeing their leader truly broken. Mars, Saturn and Jupiter abandon him and Team Galactic. Not long after this, Cynthia and Luca arrive, with the latter taking Cyrus into custody while the champ praises the kids for saving Sinnoh and possibly the world. Though laughing heartily, Ash admits they couldn't have done without each other, as he and his friends share a high five. From here, the gang get back on the road, with it not being long before they have to say goodbye to Gliscor as it goes to train with an air battle master, though fortunately Gible soon takes its place as they get closer and closer to Sunnyshore's City, though first they must once more cross paths with Paul and Barry, the latter of whom is seeking a battle, though before he and Ash can finish their first match, Team Rocket swoops in and abducts their Pokemon. This is aside from Monferno, who had previously been knocked away during a clash with Barry's Empoleon, and who now returns in its blaze state. Thanks to the power this gives, Monferno is easily able to send the crooks blasting off, though perhaps this is too much power, as the damage it deals inadvertently threatens to collapse the cage the captured Pokemon are kept in, crushing them. Recognizing that this is its fault due to having already learned to maintain its sanity in Blaze, Monferno leaps to the rescue, though even its strength is seemingly not enough, as the cage begins to crush them all now. However, refusing to give up, both Ash and Lucario cry their encouragement and belief in the monkey, with this giving it a new boost, as it destroys the cage and frees its friends, while evolving into Infernape in the process. This naturally delights both Ash and Lucario, who congratulate it. While watching from the trees, Paul can't help but be intrigued, as not only did Monferno show consistent control over Blaze, but it actually used its power to evolve. Though, as Ash will soon learn, even this power does not make him unstoppable, as a few days later he agrees to battle Flint of the Elite Four in an exhibition match to reignite Volkner's battling spirit. Here he makes use of Infernape, Pikachu and Lucario, though sadly all three fall to the Elite's own Infernape, even if he does acknowledge the boy's power, while Volkner admits that he is willing to resume his gym leader duties after what he just witnessed. Unfortunately, his return from hiatus is a rather limited one, as while he and Ash do begin a battle, it is interrupted by Team Rocket, who tries to steal the Sunny Shore Tower, and while this does give Grotle the experience it needs to evolve into Torterra, it results in Volkner requesting a rain check on continuing the gym battle until the tower is repaired. Subsequently, Ash and co accompany Dawn to the Grand Festival, where she is able to claim victory due to using Buizel and Piplup in place of Togekiss and Piplup, since the pair's combo move from the Team Galactic battle, coupled with Buizel's strength and more combative nature, is enough to defeat Zoe's Glameow and Glade, making her the new top coordinator. Feeling inspired to win the Sinnoh League just like Dawn did the Grand Festival, Ash returns to Sunny Shore to face Volkner for real, this time using Pikachu and Infernape, the latter of whom shows off its near mastery of Blaze, as it is able to defeat two of the gym leader's Pokemon on its own, resulting in a clean victory which Ash and Lucario are both immensely proud of. In the wake of this, Ash learns that he has a month until the Lily of the Valley conference begins, and so heads to the island where the league will be held so he can use this time to train. As part of this, he recalls all his Pokemon, so that each of them can get some specialized attention, though they are not the only ones, as Lucario also makes sure that Ash's own training in Aura is not neglected, though at this point there isn't much left to teach him. This in turn frees Lucario up to focus on its own improvement, with the new setting proving quite beneficial, as the Aura Pokemon has access to all of Ash's stronger Pokemon to serve as training partners, from Charizard and Snorlax, to more familiar faces such as Sceptile and even Infernape itself, who is eager to repay its mentor now that they can spar on an even footing. This gives the Aura Hound a good challenge, and a chance to test itself against peers it respects, all the while deepening its bond with the extended team and giving it a clear path forward. Finally, the fated day arrives and the Sinnoh League begins, with the opening rounds going the same as canon since Lucario's presence would have no impact on them, so that before Ash knows it, he is in the quarterfinals, and most importantly, his opponent is none other than Paul. This is a rematch Ash and his team have been waiting for, and won't give them all a chance to make up for their late acuity loss. He even brings back Gliscor in place of Gible, ensuring it's the exact same team as before. Having suspected Ash would fall prey to such sentimentality, Paul in contrast constructs his team around beating them again, preferably with fewer losses this time to ensure that the message sinks in. His way is the only path to success, and any evidence Ash may have seen to the contrary is just a fluke. To this end, when the time comes for the battle to begin, he opens with one of his two undefeated Pokemon from Lake Acuity, his Weavile, while Ash chooses Staraptor in the hope of giving it some redemption. Deeming this a foolish, overly emotional plan, Paul attempts to recreate the strategy that led to his prior success, though as he will soon learn, Ash and his Pokemon have worked tirelessly to improve since Lake Acuity, with this being proven when Staraptor claims victory this time, knocking out Weavile and giving the opening lead to Ash. Gritting his teeth in frustration, Paul next chooses a Pokemon he has not used against his rival before, Drapion, as if to show that while he will replicate what has worked in the past, he is still able to grow and adapt when new information presents itself. Wanting to feel out what this unfamiliar Pokemon can do, Ash decides to stick with Staraptor, though this proves to be a mistake, as Drapion's Pin Missile quickly removes the bird's aerial advantage, while its devastating cross poison is in place to counter the very brave bird technique that Paul's brother taught it. As a result, it is Staraptor who falls here, evening things out while in its place Ash picks Gliscor, since with its poison and bug resistance, it should be able to handle Drapion's strategy and bring things back in his favor. This is incorrect, as while those factors are in play, Drapion's immense strength backed by Paul's guile make them more or less irrelevant, as the purple-haired boy focuses on setting up toxic spikes and then batting Gliscor down into the battlefield where it is poisoned. This in turn makes it groggy, while also limiting how much time it has left, forcing Ash to make a tactical retreat as he calls it and brings Pikachu out in its stead. Like Gliscor, Pikachu is poisoned, showing that toxic spikes will be an ongoing problem, though this is not enough to stop Ash's number one partner, as through a combination of Thunderbolts, Volt Tackles, and Iron Tails, he is able to go toe-to-toe with the Ogre Scorpion Pokemon. This quickly turns into a battle of David versus Goliath, as while Pikachu is quicker, Drapiona's size and power outside, making each of its blows worth several of the Cantonian electric types. However, as Ash has been trying to prove since the day he met Paul, ruthless power is no match for heart and partnership, with this becoming clear when Pikachu prevails in spite of his poisoning, taking out one of the purple-haired boy's most dangerous Pokemon in the process. Unfortunately, by now the effects of toxic spikes have truly taken their toll on Pikachu, so that when Paul's Alpha Gliscor enters the fray, it makes short work of Ash's starter. In his place, Ash calls for Lucario, a wise choice as its steel typing prevents it from being poisoned by the toxic spikes. However, rather than go on the attack as Paul had expected, the Raven-haired boy instructs his friend to tap into its aura sight to locate all the remaining spikes on the field, and to use Bone Rush to sweep them into the air. Though, even this does not seem to be an offensive maneuver, as they are not being directed at Gliscor. Instead, they are simply launched upwards. Then, when they have all been removed from the field, Lucario fires a single Aura Sphere, destroying the barbs in their entirety before returning to Ash's side, since it did not come out to fight, just to help its comrades and thwart Paul's strategy. This naturally annoys the purple-haired boy, though not half as much as what Ash does next, with the Cantonian boy choosing his Torterra in an attempt to mimic Paul's own strategy with Drapion, as it uses Leaf Storm the same way the Ogre Scorpion used Pin Missile, and Bite to copy Cross Poison when things get up close and personal, all the while showing that Ash has also taken the best of Paul's methodology into himself, while never losing his compassion. This does initially prove problematic for the son of Veilstone, though unfortunately, Gliscor's status as a pack alpha gives it the bulk it needs to endure these hits and strike back, demonstrating that it has superior speed and defensive capabilities to Torterra. Subsequently, Ash is forced to recall his grass starter, promising that it will get another chance to prove itself later, while also figuring there's someone who would greatly appreciate a chance to battle Paul's Gliscor. As it turns out, this is his own Gliscor, as having once been the crybaby runt of the pack, it now has a chance to show its growth against the fearsome former leader. Remembering Ash's Gliscor and how pathetic it once was, Paul's does not take it particularly seriously at first, though this is to its detriment, as demonstrating the confidence it has gained from Ash's kindness along with the skills its time with an air battle master have furnished it with, it crushes the former alpha, and stands as yet another example of Ash's ideology in practice. With this, half of Paul's team is gone, while Ash has only lost Pikachu and Staraptor, though as the purple-haired youth is quick to show, he's saved his heavy hitters for the back half. This becomes immediately apparent when Ninjask makes its appearance and promptly outspeeds Gliscor, even if it is Drapion's poison that ultimately defeats it, bringing the team numbers back into equilibrium. Sensing the eagerness in Lucario's aura, Ash does not even need to look or say a word, instead simply nodding as the fighting steel type takes to the field, while across from it, Paul orders Ninjask to crush it like it did last time. However, Lucario is not the same Pokemon it was before, having seen more and trained more alongside strong, worthwhile rivals. With this showing its fighting style, as now when the bug flower attacks, it does not try to outspeed it, instead using Detect to ground itself and brace for the hit like a bulky Snorlax. This is then followed up by a retaliatory tail swipe mimicking Sceptile's signature pound that leaves Ninjask off kilter, putting it in a perfect position for a follow-up Aura Sphere that is compressed and then allowed to expand at the last second for maximum power like Charizard's Dragon Rage. In an instant, the ninja Pokemon finds itself beaten and bedraggled, though it is not quite enough to defeat it, with this causing Paul to smirk that the dog is still pathetic. However, it seems Lucario is not yet done, as having saved the best for last, it draws back its fist before lunging forward in a manner very similar to Infernape's signature Mach Punch. Though this is not Mach Punch, but instead something Lucario devised by watching, sparring with and learning from its student, so that as its fist collides with Ninjask's face, it reveals its new move, Bullet Punch. Against such a fast and powerful attack, Ninjask has no chance, crashing to the ground with spirals for eyes, while Paul is forced to grudgingly recall it and bring out his penultimate Pokemon in Torterra. Wanting to keep the momentum it has gained, Lucario continues to press the attack, though this proves to be a mistake, as having trained his starter to be a defensive powerhouse, Paul answers this with a combo of Frenzy Plant and Mega Drain that binds Lucario's limbs before leeching its vitality. Knowing this is a threat Lucario cannot handle with its skill set, Ash calls for a retreat, and when the referee raises a flag in acknowledgement, Torterra releases it, allowing it to limp back to the trainer box and stand by Ash's side, while in its place the boy calls for his own Torterra. Unfortunately, this mirror match does not go as well as Gliscor versus Gliscor, as Paul's grass type is more experienced and better trained, resulting in a decisive victory for the purple-haired youth, leaving Ash only two choices: bring Lucario back in, or use his final Pokemon. Seeing this is no real choice at all, Ash calls for Infernape to show Paul what it can do, with the Fire Monkey bursting onto the field to face its fellow final stage starter. As both Pokemon have a super effective type against the other, this is a challenging matchup, though thanks to its friends helping to wear it down, Infernape is able to come out on top, while Paul's last choice is none other than Electivire. Knowing how strong Paul's electric ace is, Ash urges Infernape to do its best, while in turn the other boy seems to have a simple goal: inflict an unending barrage of damage upon his former Pokemon, since obliterating it will also be the definitive proof of his ideals being superior to Ash's. To this end, he has Electivire hound Infernape, never giving it a second to breathe between Brick Breaks and Thunders, while also using Protect to shield his Pokemon from the Fire Starter's retaliations. As a result, things quickly begin to turn in Paul's favour, with Infernape growing steadily more tired and injured. From the sidelines, Lucario calls out to its student, offering to step in and handle things from here, though surprisingly, Infernape refuses, thanking Lucario for its concern, but assuring it that it is no longer a child in need of protection, and that it can win this so long as it knows that Lucario and Ash believe in it. As one, the Raven-haired boy and Aura Hound nod that they do, with this igniting something within Infernape, quite literally, as at that moment it draws on the power of Blaze, fully mastered and able to give it the strength it needs. Having hoped to see this, Paul and Electivire both ready themselves, as now the true test begins, and they have no intention of failing. Subsequently, they go on the attack once more, using Brick Breaks and Thunder Punches, though now Infernape is able to match them with its own Muck Punches and Flare Blitzes. However, this is not the way of things for long, as with each hit the flame of Infernape's fighting spirit grows stronger, and its attacks with it, so that soon, Electivire is the one on the back foot. Urgently, Paul attempts to fall back on Protect, though this can only work so many times, as after one too many attempts, Infernape breaks through the barrier, knocking Electivire unconscious, and sealing Ash's victory. For a second, neither Ash nor Paul can believe it, though as the shock fades, the Raven-haired boy runs in to hug his fire starter, while beside him, Lucario praises its growth and strength, both physical and emotional. Even Paul and Electivire give the group matching nods of acknowledgement before they depart, having seemingly accepted that there may be something to this idea of bonds and kindness. The following morning, Ash is slated to have his first ever semi-final battle, this time against Tobias, the enigmatic trainer who has so far only used a Darkrai. Thankfully, Ash has a counter in mind, as when the Cloaked Man summons his mythical beast of nightmares, the Cantonian youth responds with Lucario, since it was never actually defeated yesterday, and thus has enough stamina to take part in this fight. Unfortunately, stamina is not worth much in the face of Darkrai's signature Dark Void, as one hit from that is enough to put Lucario to sleep, while Tobias prepares to use Dream Eater to finish it off, as he is with every foe in the league so far. Urgently, Ash cries out for his steely fighting friend to wake up, though when this doesn't work, he employs a more esoteric technique, reaching out with his aura to connect with Lucario's while sending the signal to wake up. As he had hoped, their bond proves stronger than even Darkrai's power, with the Aura Hound opening its eyes at the last second so the Dream Eater passes harmlessly over it. Having not expected this, Tobias and Darkrai are taken aback, with this being what Ash and Lucario need to defeat the Pitch Black Pokemon. Though it remains a tough battle, as Lucario is forced to endure several Ice Beams and Dark Pulses before Darkrai finally goes down. Unfortunately, it seems the Dark-type is not Tobias' only powerful Pokemon, as in its place he calls forth Latios, whose signature Luster Purge unfortunately proves too much for Lucario, downing it, along with Swellow and Gibble soon after, so that Ash quickly finds himself down half a team while Tobias only has one loss under his belt. Luckily, Sceptile is here to finish off the Eon Pokemon, bringing things a little closer to an even keel, though this feeling of balance does not last long, as Tobias' third Pokemon, Entei, makes short work of the Grass starter. The same is true for Quilava, who Ash had picked in place of Torkoal to give some representation to his Johto team, though having saved his old reliable for last, Ash then calls on Pikachu, who is able to step up and conquer 1/3 of the legendary beasts. Having never lost any Pokemon before, let alone half his team, Tobias is nothing but praise for Ash, though this does not mean he takes it easy on him, as in Entei's place, he brings out his own Kanto electric type, Zapdos, with it and Pikachu going head to head in an electrical clash, a clash that the mouse Pokemon sadly cannot win, resulting in Ash's elimination from the Lily of the Valley Conference, while Tobias proceeds to the championship. However, not everything is doom and gloom, as not only is this Ash's highest league placement yet, but his friends are quick to praise him for his tenacity and strategy. Chief among them is Lucario, who proudly states that after everything he's learned and achieved in Sinnoh, as well as his continued displays of aura mastery, he is unequivocally worthy of being called an aura guardian in his own right. Gratefully, Ash assures the fighting steel type that he could not have made it this far without its help, and that he will always appreciate everything it's done for him. While shaking its head, Lucario states that Ash has done just as much for it, with the pair clasping hands, no longer as master and student, but as equals. Though, this does mean that the time has come for them to say goodbye, since with its promise to Ash fulfilled, Lucario must make good on its vow to help Riley and the remnants of the Aura Guardians regain what they have lost. Knowing this will be a difficult endeavor, the ancient Pokemon offers Ash a chance to accompany it, stating he would make a good teacher and a valued member of the Order, and while he does want to help his friend, Ash ultimately declines, stating that he still wants to keep traveling and improving. Understanding this perfectly and having come to expect nothing less from Ash, Lucario wishes him well, though, as they part ways, it makes the boy a promise. We will meet again. Following Lucario's departure, time passes, with Ash beginning a new journey, this time through the Unova region. For the most part, events transpire like canon, aside from a few instances where his aura powers prove useful, such as being able to sense Tepig's fading life force and finding it sooner at the battle club, or using his aura to calm the forces of nature on Milo Silent. However, things do start to change following the end of the Pokemon World Tournament Junior Cup, when Ash and his friends Iris and Silent meet a boy named Cameron who travels alongside a Riolu. Due to being excitable and good-natured, he and Ash quickly hit it off, though unfortunately Cameron does possess one major flaw, as he is, to use the technical term, a doofus, believing only 7 badges are needed to compete in the Unova League, which he bafflingly thinks is held in the Johto region. Recognizing a rookie in need of guidance and being reminded of Lucario's own mentorship due to the presence of Riolu, Ash decides to take the bandana-clad boy under his wing, inviting him to join him and his friends and promising they'll help him find a gym where he can get his final badge before the league, an offer Cameron leaps at as he's never travelled with friends before. To this end, the group then set off for Shalour City, with Ash and Cameron getting separated from their friends like in canon due to the depth of their conversation, though thanks to Ash's aura sense detecting danger, they do manage not to fall off a cliff, allowing them to double back the way they came, with Ash showing off some of his additional aura powers by locating both their companions and the distant mass of people that must be the city, so that they're able to arrive there significantly earlier than in canon, and without getting rained on. During this journey, they continue to talk, since among other things, Ash is eager to learn about the other boy's Riolu, while also sharing stories of his time with Lucario, which Cameron finds awesome, wondering if maybe the close bond he has with Riolu is some kind of aura connection. Seeing no reason it couldn't be, Ash begins teaching Cameron and Riolu the basics of reaching out with their auras, a difficult task, as unlike Ash who carries a strong aura reminiscent of Sir Aaron, Cameron's is fairly average, though he does have a rather bizarre secret weapon, as by smacking his forehead with his own headband, he is able to immediately calm his mind and focus, allowing him to reach the mental state that Lucario had to spend weeks getting Ash to achieve. This in turn skyrockets his progress, as once he reaches that state of Zen, he admits to feeling something, even if it's only faint, with Ash encouraging this as he continues to guide the boy until they reach the city. Though even this small progress is a monumental impact, as being the voice of reason in their partnership, Riolu is able to stop Cameron from leaving it on the dock when he heads into the water to face Marlin, meaning the boy is able to use his partner in the final clash and win his 8th badge more cleanly. Recognizing the value of this aura stuff, Cameron requests to continue working with Ash, since that way he and Riolu can strengthen their bond while the two of them can train for the Virtuous Conference, an offer Ash is more than happy to accept, so that instead of a trio, it is a team of 4 who return to Cynthia's villa that night. Upon learning that Ash is training the Bandana Boy as an Aura Guardian, Cynthia is naturally intrigued, since while she is familiar with the group, she's never actually seen their teaching methods up close, while Cameron in turn is wowed since his dream is to be a Pokemon League champion and now he's staying with one. Over the next few days, Ash sets to work giving Cameron a crash course on aura, starting by honing his ability to sense Riolu, as well as to recognize its aura amidst others, with the pair doing this by having their Pokemon spar while Cameron has to keep track of Riolu. This serves as good training for the league as well, with the pair quickly developing a different dynamic from Ash and Lucario, as while the Cantonian boy and the Aura Hound had something of a sensei-student relationship that grew into a strong partnership, Ash and Cameron quickly established more of a big brother-little brother rapport, as Ash teaches Cameron the ropes, while Cameron's carefree attitude keeps their practice fun and Ash on his toes. Even Meloetta helps out, since once Cameron's gotten the hang of sensing individual auras, she plays hide-and-seek with the boys, going invisible and forcing them to find her without sight. Unfortunately, it is not all fun and games, as while Ash is able to demonstrate practical skills that Cameron can copy, he struggles more with teaching the metaphysical aspect, as it's very different training a person and training a Pokemon. Pokemon. Fortunately, here Cynthia is able to help, as one evening a few days into their practice, she invites Ash to use her video phone, where a very familiar pair are waiting on the screen, Riley and Lucario. Face splitting in a wide grin, Ash questions how his old friend and companion is, with the fighting steel type resolutely revealing that things are going well with the Aura Guardians, before chuckling that it seems Ash has found himself with a brash, hot-headed young student of his own. Nodding, Ash seeks his former teacher's advice on how to guide Cameron, since he's never done anything like this before, to which Lucario explains that in its experience, the best thing to do is to show them the basics, then stand by their side and give them room to prove themselves, since Ash always demonstrated the most growth in moments where he was needed and could help someone. If this Cameron boy is as much like him as Cynthia said, then such an opportunity will allow him to flourish into a worthy Aura Guardian, just like his teacher. Fortunately for Ash and Cameron, and less fortunately for everyone else, such an opportunity arises not long after this, as Team Rocket initiate Operation Tempest in an attempt to capture Meloetta just when her human protector Ridley arrives to take her home. Knowing this cannot happen until the villains are defeated, Ridley entrusts the mythical Pokemon to the boys, with them combining their aura abilities to try and avoid further ambushes by sensing out danger. This immediately reveals the presence of Giovanni and his Persian who are inbound, and knowing that they can't outrun him at their current speed, they stand and fight with Pikachu and Riolu. Together they are able to put up a decent fight against the Rocket Boss, as Pikachu creates openings for Riolu to strike with super effective attacks. However, this is Giovanni they're dealing with, and seeing that he isn't going to win this through conventional power, he has his helicopter descend and trap the boys and their Pokemon in an energy cube, while giving Meloetta an ultimatum: surrender herself to him, or he will shrink this cube until her little friends are crushed into oblivion. Urgently, Ash and Cameron tell the Mythical to run, promising they'll be fine, though knowing they're just trying to protect her, Meloetta relents, allowing herself to be captured in a similar cube as they are all loaded into a submarine bound for the Abyssal Ruins. In an attempt to think of a way out of this, Ash tries to use this time to meditate like Lucario taught him, though evidently Cameron is having none of that, pacing and smacking himself with his headband since this is his first time being captured by Team Rocket. Though this is not just pure restlessness, as through this he has an idea and so turns to Ash, confirming with him that this cage is made of energy, right? Nodding, the Ravenhead youth agrees that it is, with Cameron elaborating that aura is also energy. So what if they push their aura into the cage and kinda beat it like a type matchup? You know, maybe life energy is super effective against weird robot energy. Smiling widely, Ash calls that a great idea, though since this will require a lot of control, he probably will have to be the one to do it, with Cameron grinning that he and Riolu will back him up. Together the boys then set about their work, with Ash remaining seated and laying his hands on the cage, while Cameron and Riolu each lay a hand or paw on his back. Then, as one, they channel their auras and release it into the energy cube. For a moment, this seems to work just as Cameron had hoped, though Team Rocket's tech is not to be underestimated, as after a brief moment of flickering, the cube restabilizes. Letting out a sigh, the bandana-clad boy curses the stupid box, though remaining calm, Ash points out that it almost worked, so if they really pull together, they should be able to overpower the cube's energy. Seeing Ash's point, Cameron slaps his forehead once again to steady himself, then looking Riolu squarely in the eye, he asks it to help him out once more, since he really needs his buddy for this one. Nodding resolutely, Riolu mirrors him, with the pair reaching deep inside themselves to tap into their aura reserves. However, this is not the only reserve Riolu reaches into, as seeing how hard Cameron has been working and how much success means to him, it puts everything it has into supporting him and his plan. So that as aura flows through it and into Ash, white light erupts around it. In an instant, two things happen. First, the cage shorts out as aura does indeed beat artificial energy, and secondly, a proud Lucario rises where Riolu once stood. Letting out a cheer of pure joy, Cameron hugs his partner, calling it the greatest, while Ash too thanks Lucario for sharing its energy, with the trio then repeating the feat to destroy Meloetta's cage too, freeing them up to make their escape. Though, considering they're underwater, they decide to put their hide-and-seek practice to the test, stowing away in the hidden parts of the sub and then jumping out when they sense a Team Rocket member passing by. As Ash's Lucario had suggested, this moment of need serves as just the sort of push Cameron requires, with him even sensing one enemy before Ash, even if his aura sight is still not as attuned or ranged as his friends. Thanks to this, they're able to take out most of the grunts covertly, so that when they arrive at the submerged ruins, it is Ash and Cameron's turn to ambush Giovanni, with the crime boss's Persian clashing once more against Pikachu and Lucario. Without any dirty tricks to pull, this battle quickly turns against Giovanni. Though, never being the sort to go down with the ship, the rocket leader abandons Operation Tempest so that he might live to fight another day, escaping in a small self-contained sub while leaving Ash, Cameron and their Pokemon to drown. Fortunately, Ash's Oshawott and Cameron's Samurott are able to get them to the surface before they run out of breath, just in time for Cynthia, Ridley and the boys' friends to find them and return to land, feeling glad that they and Meloette are safe, though concerned that Giovanni and other members of Team Rocket managed to get away scot-free, and they may attempt a similar scheme down the line. In a tone of deep solemnity, Ridley assures them that he won't let that happen, with he and Meloette departing for parts unknown where they are sure the villains will never find them. As for Ash, Cameron and their friends, they also say goodbye to Cynthia, as it's time to start making their way to the Virtuous Conference. Along the way, Ash, Cameron and Lucario continue their aura training, with them now moving on to sensing wild Pokemon, which is helpful since a few days into the trek, Ash learns that Cameron believes a full battle is only 5 Pokemon, and so helps him catch a Watchog to round out his team. Additionally, Cameron gets a chance to work on his aura coordination with Lucario when the Flower Garden troop disrespects them, and so the gang infiltrate their headquarters to show them the cost of their rudeness. As they have a no boys allowed rule, the gang adopt disguises and introduce themselves as Ashley, Silenor, and Cameron. Though fortunately the bandana-clad boy's gender-neutral name saves him when he forgets to change it. Luckily, one thing he does not forget is what he and Ash have worked on, as thanks to their growing aura bond, Cameron and Lucario are able to maintain their balance long enough to kick Cher and Roserade's butts, even if their subsequent cheers and boisterous hug are deemed terribly uncouth by the troop leader Moira. This in turn frees Ash and Pikachu up to make short work of Mona's Lilligant, so that Iris and Ash's Snivy can handle Moira and Cinccino, allowing them to get payback for the previous disrespect and teach the haughty trio a lesson. Following this, the team encounter a pair of boys called Rocco and Soren, who claim to be experts in double battling, and upon learning that Ash and Cameron each have 8 badges, challenge them to a battle. To their credit, the duo are an effective team, showing off several high-level combo moves, though Ash and Cameron are no slouches either, showing how well they have come to know each other during their training and how strong their bond has become, so that it is they who emerge victorious, with Ash having to admit that Cameron's strategic thinking in battle has gotten a lot better, with even Iris admitting that he's not as much of a little kid anymore. And speaking of Iris, the next stop is her home, the Village of Dragons, where she challenges her mentor Drayden, giving Ash and Cameron plenty of time to train, before returning to the road where they meet a boy named Virgil who is also on his way to the league along with his family of Pokemon rescue rangers. Remembering Lucario's habit of helping rangers since they're reminded of the Aura Guardians, Ash agrees to assist Virgil in dealing with a group of rampaging Cryogonal, with the group heading to a dam where Ash and Cameron both sense another Cryogonal trapped deep within. Figuring this must be what has the ice type so upset, the boys and their Pokemon descend deeper in while Virgil and their friends hold off the Cryogonal long enough for Ash and Cameron to rescue the trapped one, ending the dispute peacefully and allowing them to get back on the road sooner than in canon. As a result, it is not long before they reach Virtuous City, which is the home of the Virtuous Conference, and after getting registered, something Cameron didn't know he had to do, the two competitors settle in for some final training before the start of the league. With it comes a slight sense of foreboding, as from here on out, they could be forced to battle each other at any point of the tournament. Though refusing to let this get them down, the pair instead share a fist bump, promising that if they do have to face off, they'll each give it their best, and no matter the outcome, they'll stay pals. A few days later, this vow is put to the test, as after defeating their first several foes with more ease than canon thanks to the extra training they got with each other, Ash and Cameron are paired up in the top 8. Remembering their promise, both come out swinging when the time to battle begins, with Ash choosing Unpheasant against Cameron's new Watchog. Showing that he indeed learned some strategy during his time as the Cantonian's protege, the Bandana Boy tries to use Thunderbolts reminiscent of Pikachu's to corral the normal flyer into staring at a Confuse Ray, though unfortunately Ash is quicker, having Unpheasant dive bomb Watchog with its eyes closed, so that when the dust settles, Ash is the first knockout. In response, Cameron fights fire with fire, bringing out Swanna, who does manage to take out Unpheasant but falls to Oshawott, who has had enough time with Cameron's Samurott to grow as a water type. Figuring Cameron will be drawn to the mirror match, Ash next expects Samurott, though recognizing he's in a dire position, Cameron actually picks his defensive war with a type advantage, Ferrothorn, a wise move that nets him another win, so they're back on an even keel. Though this does not last long, as with a quad weakness to fire, Pignite makes short work of Ferrothorn, meaning Cameron's down to half a team. However, this is what Cameron's secret weapon is for, and while it is no secret to Ash, having travelled with and trained alongside this Pokemon for weeks, Hydreigon is still a considerable threat, defeating Pignite and Boldore before Snivy steps in, dodging Hydreigon's attacks with nimble footwork, and then using a track to befuddle the dragon. This in turn leaves it vulnerable to a follow-up attack from the Grass Starter, and having battled both Pignite and Boldore already, it is here that Hydreigon falls. In its place comes Samurott, and while Silent and Iris do wonder if this is Cameron's boneheadedness shining through, since this is a clearly bad matchup, when Leaf Blade clashes with Razor Shell, it is the formidable Pokemon who prevails, bringing Ash down to his final partner in Pikachu. Though this unevenness is not felt for long, as showing why he is Ash's most trusted companion, the electric rodent deftly downs the fully evolved water type, taking only a couple of hits for his trouble, so that now Cameron must call out Lucario. This is the match both boys have been waiting for, as all their time together has been building to this. As promised, neither hold anything back, with our opening salvo being a clash of Force Palms against Iron Tails, only for both to fall back and switch to Aura Sphere and Electro Ball, showing just how well they've come to know each other in their battling styles. When this ends inconclusively, Ash next goes for Quick Attack, while showing off its signature copycat, Lucario mimics this, so the two speeding blurs collide in the center of the field, neither willing to give an inch. This quickly becomes the way of things, as while one may briefly gain the advantage, the other is quick to close the gap, bringing things back into a stalemate and forcing their rival to go higher and higher. As this happens, both Ash and Cameron have matching smiles on their faces, clearly having the time of their lives in spite of the steep competitive pressure pressing down on both of them. However, even fun times must end eventually, as following another up-close physical clash, both Pikachu and Lucario are exhausted, forcing their trainers to put all their faith in a final risky play, Electro Ball and Aura Sphere at point-blank range. Respecting their trainers too much to let them down, the two Pokemon obey, manifesting orbs of energy and swinging them at their rival who in their present state is too depleted to dodge. As a result, when the smoke clears, both are lying face down on the ground, seemingly signifying a double knockout. That is, until Cameron reaches out, not physically, but through his aura, as he wordlessly urges his buddy to get back up. For a moment, nothing happens. Then, as though something has given it a small burst of energy, Lucario opens its eyes and staggers to its feet, giving the win to Cameron. In spite of this loss, Ash has nothing but praise for his surrogate little brother as the pair shake hands, with the Cantonian complimenting his use of aura and strategy in particular. Likewise, Cameron thanks the other boy who has been a mentor and a friend, while lightheartedly teasing that he bets Ash wishes he'd let him go off to Johto now. Wanting to support their friend, Ash, Iris and Silent decide to stick around, cheering Cameron on the following day as he faces and defeats Virgil, putting him in the finals, where he and Lucario's aura bond allowed them to pull off yet another win, making the former rookie into the Virtuous Conference winner. Naturally, Ash feels a lot of pride in his friend who is overjoyed at this win, as it brings him one step closer to his dream of being a champion, though unfortunately, he cannot stay to watch Cameron take on the Elite Four and older, as the road calls to him once more. Nonetheless, before they part, he and Cameron share one last fist bump, as the bandana-clad boy declares that he will never forget everything Ash has done for him, and that he and Lucario will proudly carry on the legacy of aura he has imparted to them. In turn, Ash promises that someday the two of them will meet up again for a rematch, so they can both put their aura skills to the test, an offer Cameron is happy to accept, though he does laughingly demand that Ash better win his next league, since he can't have his rival falling behind. Then, with broad smiles on their faces, the two friends part, eager to embrace their next adventures. Following the Virtuous Conference, Ash once more returns to the road, but for the most part his remaining adventures in Unova and beyond play out as canon, such as meeting N, reuniting with Charizard, and travelling to the Decalor Islands, with the most notable change being a closer friendship between Ash and N, since Aura has allowed the Ravenhead youth to see the hearts of Pokemon too, though in a somewhat different capacity, meaning there is less of a clash of ideals between them when they first meet, and N is quicker to trust him and his friends with the story of how he met Reshiram. Likewise, early Kalos remains the same, as Ash makes new friends, captures iconic Pokemon like Froakie and Fletchling, and acquires his first two badges. Though, on the way to Geosenge Town, something does occur to profoundly alter Ash's journey, as he and his companions come across a young woman and a Lucario on a quest to master the art of Mega Evolution. Intrigued by this, our heroes decide to tag along, joining Karina as she travels to a mountain cave and battles a powerful Blaziken for the right to claim a chunk of Lucario Night. Thanks to her and Lucario's bond, she's able to hold her own long enough for her grandfather, the Mega Evolution guru Gherkin, to reveal that the Blaziken is his, and that she has proven herself worthy, allowing her to take the stone and finally attempt the Mega Evolution she and her partner have sought for so long. However, this does not go as planned, since no sooner is Lucario Mega evolved than it goes berserk, becoming feral and violent, forcing Gherkin to bring out his own Lucario and subdue it, claiming that Lucario's is too emotionally volatile and cannot yet control its aura. Luckily, Ash knows someone who is an expert in mentoring emotionally volatile students, as well as a skilled aura master, not to mention it just so happens to be a Lucario itself. To this end, Ash offers to get in touch with his old friend and ask for its assistance, and offer Karina and Gherkin are quick to accept, though the question is, how will Ash reach Lucario, considering Cynthia never told him how she got in contact with the Aura Guardians of Sinnoh? Fortunately, Ash is nothing if not creative, with him devising a plan as he asks to borrow Gherkin and Karina's Lucarios, since even if the latter is not familiar with controlling aura, it should hopefully at least have enough innate connection to amplify his. Happy to assist the young man who is trying to help them, the pair agree, with Ash synchronizing his own aura with the two fighting steel types, and then reaching out for the familiar presence of his own Lucario friend. Thanks to the boost, he is able to find it, and beyond that, he is even able to speak to it, a feat that amazes the ancient Aura Hound, as no one has ever attempted telepathy across regions before. Nonetheless, ever the stoic warrior, it listens as Ash explains the situation and requests its help, something Lucario agrees to immediately, promising to make its way to Kalos as quickly as it can, though before it cuts the connection, it does take a brief moment to acknowledge that it is pleased to see that Ash has kept improving his aura abilities in its absence. Unfortunately, this meetup will take a while, as with no Pokeball that can be instantly transferred, Lucario will have to travel to Kalos by boat, with it ultimately being decided they will rendezvous at Shalour City, since it is Karina and Gherkin's ultimate destination, not to mention it's a port city so it'll be easy for Lucario's boat to stop there. However, passing the next stretch earlier than in canon does come with two rather unfortunate consequences. First, Ash does not meet and help Hawlucha, resulting in it remaining the forest champion, and second, due to not having news of successful Mega Evolution training to report to Professor Sycamore, Ash and Co are not invited to his summer camp, meaning Serena does not speak with Shauna and decide to start doing showcases, though in exchange for this, they do receive more time training with Karina and her Lucario, as while she has agreed to hold off on Mega Evolution again until Ash's friend can arrive, she and her partner still need to keep in tip-top shape, with Ash volunteering himself and his Pokemon as willing sparring partners. During this time, Ash also works to help fill Lucario in on the basics of Aura, finding this much easier thanks to his time mentoring Cameron, so that when they do finally reach Shalour City and meet up with Ash's Lucario, the Aura Pokemon has a foundation to build upon rather than starting from scratch. Though it does not build on it alone, as recognizing Ash's progress and skill as a mentor, it invites the boy to serve as co-teacher with it, an honor Ash is happy to accept, so that as a training quartet who ascend the Tower of Mastery to begin their work. Thanks to Ash's foundational work and Lucario's experience mentoring Infernape, it does not take long at all for Karina and Lucario to begin showing progress, and better still, the skater girl never has to be injured by her partner to cement their bond, instead working alongside it to get its aura in check, so it can safely manifest the power of Mega Evolution. Feeling a demonstration might help them, Karina suggests that Ash and Lucario attempt to Mega Evolve, since clearly their strong bond and control over aura should make it easy. And seeing no reason to disagree, the pair do as bid, with Ash slipping on the Mega Glove while Lucario takes the Lucario Knight. As one, they then start synchronizing their minds, hearts, and auras, a familiar process from their meditation training, so that a second later, Lucario transforms, becoming Mega Lucario to the amazement of everyone. Due to being new to this form, it can only hold it briefly before reverting to normal, though this is enough to inspire Karina and her Lucario, who redouble their efforts while also suggesting Ash and Lucario should try to master the power too. This is certainly an intriguing prospect, and when Ash and Lucario turn to face each other, curious if the other would be interested, they find matching looks of determination. With this settled, the pair question Gherkin on where they can find the requisite stones, since it would be inconvenient to backtrack all the way to Pumice Mountain, though the old man helpfully reveals there is a place called Mega Island that is said to contain every Mega Stone, so they should head there, while he will work on procuring them a keystone as thanks for helping his granddaughter. To this end, a few days later when Karina's Lucario shows signs of having its aura and Mega Evolution under control, the pair catch a boat to the island, where they are confronted by a team of Mega Pokemon commanded by an elderly sage. An elderly sage who Lucario is quick to point out has the exact same aura as Gherkin, resulting in the old man giving up the ghost, as he admits that he probably should have known better than to try and pull the same trick twice. Nonetheless, he does insist on a battle with Ash and Lucario before he can allow them to claim the Lucario Knight, something they readily accept, facing off against his Mega Alakazam, and emerging victorious in a testament to the eternal nature of their bond, as even after all this time apart, they still fall perfectly in step when it's time to battle. As their prize, they are gifted a Lucario Knight of their own, with the pair each being eager to begin training with it, as this will be unlike any training they have ever done before. For one thing, this goes beyond their usual style of using aura to augment their battling, and for another, they are both complete novices to the world of Mega Evolution, meaning they will not be embarking on this journey as master and student, but as true equals walking side by side. With this, the pair return to Shalour City, where Karina is eager to show them her progress in the form of a gym battle, so that before they know it, they are back in the Tower of Mastery, as Gherkin orders them to reveal their first Pokemon. Wanting to save the best for last, Karina goes with her Mind Fu, while Ash picks Fletchling, with the tiny Robin's flying type proving quite essential, as it allows it to cancel out its normal typing's weakness to fighting moves. Then, when it evolves into Fletchling to clinch the match, that becomes a fighting resistance, allowing it to hold its own against Machoke as well, until it eventually falls. Next up is Pikachu, who is able to defeat the Musculamon and square off with Lucario, though when Karina shows off her Mega Evolution skills, the Electric Rodent faints, bringing things down to Lucario versus Lucario. At first, Ash's Lucario attempts to test itself against its Mega Evolved counterpart while in its base form, and though its experience and synchronicity with Ash do lessen the gap significantly, the raw power of the form forces the Elder Aura Pokemon to Mega Evolve as well. Like when they did it during training, this is a heady rush. Though demonstrating its immense discipline, Lucario does not lose control, standing strong and rising to the level of Karina's Mega Lucario before promptly surpassing it, so that after a brief clash, it is declared unable to battle, while Ash is named the winner. However, this is not quite the clean victory Ash and Lucario might have wanted, as the use of this form has left Lucario drained, with both knowing that had they been battling an experienced Mega Trainer rather than a relative novice like themselves, they likely would have lost. Though, rather than get discouraged, this simply inspires them both to train more, with Ash asking if Lucario would like to rejoin his team much like Charizard did back in Unova, being eager to continue working towards Mega Evolution mastery and seeing no reason to rush back to Sinnoh after the long boat ride here. The fighting steel type agrees, informing the Aura Guardians who escorted of its intent, and then departing with Ash towards their next adventure. As they go, Lucario easily falls back into the old pattern of training, though this is not the only familiar thing, as it quickly finds a new protege in Froakie, albeit under very different circumstances than with Infernape, since while the fire type's abandonment made it emotionally volatile and was the source of much pain, the water starter's issues with its former trainers have only crystallized its stoicism and warrior's ambition, making it far more like Lucario in personality and mindset. This makes the duo natural sparring partners, as Froakie makes it its mission to match Lucario's aura sphere with one of its own water pulses, a difficult feat, but one it does not give up on, even if it still has a long way to go. Fortunately, this training is a practical benefit too, as not long after this the group reunite with their friend Sanpei and his Greninja, who are being pursued by a masked ninja and his Barbaracle. Wanting to help, Ash and Lucario volunteer to use their aura sight to keep an eye out for this ninja, while Froakie stands ready to fight, so that together they're able to make their way to Sanpei's destination. Along the way, Froakie evolves into Frogadier, giving the group the extra boost of strength they need, so that when they arrive, the masked ninja reveals himself to be Saizo, Sanpei's sensei, and that the ninja boy has passed his test. Following this, Ash catches himself a Shy Gumi, and then not long after challenges and beats the Shalour City Gym, with Lucario once more filling in for Hawlucha, though this is not all, as showing off its incredible latent potential, Gumi rapidly evolves into Sliggoo and then Goodra just in time for Ash's 5th Kalos Gym battle. However, this is no ordinary match, as it is against Ash's friend and companion Clement, meaning both boys want to give it their all, with Ash choosing Pikachu, Goodra and Lucario as his team. Additionally, this battle is special as it is his and Lucario's first time using Mega Evolution against an actual opponent since facing Karina, and the crucible that will determine whether their training has paid off. As a result, Lucario is brought in second to face Heliolisk, and wasting no time, Ash activates his Keystone, causing Lucario's power to jump, as it is more than capable of handling the Generator Pokemon before going toe-to-toe with Clement's ace Luxray. While in terms of power the dog does outclass the cat, the toll of Mega Evolution remains too great, so the partway through the match, Lucario reverts, allowing Luxray to take it out in its fatigued state. Luckily, Goodra is there to finish things off, meaning Ash still gets his Voltage badge, though making use of the insights gained from this match, Ash and Lucario now have a new objective: stamina training. To this end, they begin doing more and more of their regular training in a state of Mega Evolution, though this just yields the same result, exhaustion that forces Lucario to revert to its base form, However, while watching Frogadier and Lucario meditating together following another training session in which the Bubble Frog was still unable to surpass Aura Sphere, Ash gets an idea and joins them, suggesting that maybe instead of getting Lucario more accustomed to fighting as Mega Lucario, they should get used to doing regular stuff like this. That way its body will grow more accustomed to the extra energy and be able to handle it for longer. Impressed by this logic, Lucario praises Ash for his wisdom and skill as a teacher, before agreeing to give it a shot, so that the rest of this meditation session is spent Mega Evolved. From here, this becomes their standard form of training, with Lucario occasionally even spending some of their travel time as Mega Lucario just to acclimate to moving its body in the state. Through this, the pair are able to see consistent incremental improvement, as every time Lucario transforms, it can hold the form for a little bit longer, or else is slightly less wiped out when it returns to normal. This is put to the test when they reach the Shalour City Gym, as this is a fairy gym, making it the ideal place for the part Steel-type Lucario to test its mettle and see how effectively it can handle Mega Evolution in continuous combat. However, before they do so, Ash first encounters Sawyer, a young rookie who reminds him a bit of Cameron if the bandana-clad boy was a bit more of a bookworm, with the pair quickly hitting it off, and while this time Ash does not invite him to become a travelling companion, he does still become something of a mentor to the green-haired youth, offering him more valuable insights than Canon as both a veteran trainer and a veteran teacher. Thanks to this, Sawyer actually wins his match against Valerie when the gym reopens following a fashion show, giving the rookie a much-needed shot of confidence, though all the same, he decides to stick around to watch Ash's battle. Eager to impress, Ash challenges Valerie shortly after this, and is surprised to find that unlike most gyms, this is a 2v2, or for Ash, a 2v1, as he and Lucario are determined to win this all on their own as a testament to their mega training. Respecting this confidence, even if she fears it does border on arrogance, the gym leader accepts, starting off with Sylveon before revealing her tactical edge, that she can communicate with her partner in the language of Pokemon. Luckily, Ash and Lucario have their own special aura bond, and so channeling this, Mega Evolve and prepare to face off against Sylveon. While it and Valerie are a tricky duo, by using Aura Vision, the two challengers are able to keep an eye out for vulnerabilities, allowing them to take the evolution down with a barrage of super effective bullet punches while Lucario still has plenty of stamina left. In response, Valerie's last Pokemon is Spritzy, whose Trick Room immediately neutralizes Bullet Punch, as now instead of speeding Lucario up, it will slow it down. This allows the Perfume Pokemon to land some powerful hits, though using what they have learned together, Ash and Lucario willingly slow down, focusing on deliberate, composed attacks. Considering they're in a race against time before Lucario's stamina depletes, this is a risky play. Though having faith in each other, they stick to the plan, landing measured aura spheres and swings of Bone Rush, so that eventually Spritzy falls as well, giving Ash the win, while Lucario is able to revert to normal with energy to spare, suggesting they are well and truly on the way to mastering Mega Evolution. Following this, Ash is a 3-on-3 against Sawyer, with this being Frogadier's time to shine, as it forms a rivalry with the other boy's Grovyle, so that even though Ash comes out the victor, both sides feel as though they have grown and will continue to, with this being where Sawyer leaves the group, though not before promising to beat Ash when they next battle. Fortunately, Ash soon discovers something else in need of his care and guidance, an egg that hatches into a Noibat, with the boy adding it to his team, while Fletchinder and Frogadier step in for joint big brother duty in Hawlucha's absence. And speaking of Fletchinder, it is not long at all before it evolves into Talonflame during a confrontation with the legendary Pokemon Moltres, with this serving to amaze Lucario at how strong Ash and his team have gotten considering they defeated the hands of Tobias' legendary bird back in Sinnoh. From here, it is only a hop, skip and a jump to Anastasia City, where they meet up with Professor Sycamore again, as well as encounter the gym leader Olympia for the first time. Having heard that Ash and Lucario were working on Mega Evolution, Sycamore is fascinated to hear about their progress, though in contrast, Olympia's eyes are on the future, since as a seer, she predicts that Ash and his Pokemon, though especially Lucario and Frogadier, will have a significant role to play in a conflict that will shape all of Kalos. Not only that, but she foretells that in time, Frogadier will come to possess a unique power that will be forged in the heart of its greatest partners, or else be lost forever. Truthfully, Ash doesn't know what to make of any of this, though all the same he vows that if Kalos is in danger, he will do whatever he can to help, with Lucario and the rest of his friends making the same promise. Wanting to prepare them as best she can, Olympia proposes that she and Ash have a double battle, with the boy agreeing and choosing to use the double act of Lucario and Frogadier, both because they have built up a strong rapport from all their time training together, and because they were the Pokemon Olympia mentioned by name in her prophecy. In an attempt to push this pair of destined saviors to their full potential, Olympia uses her own veteran tag battlers, a male and female Meowstic, whose teamwork and psychic control of the battlefield is unparalleled. Though, putting their own strengths together, Lucario and Frogadier push through, not by capitalizing on their similarities, but by leaning on their differences, as Lucario remains the knight, facing danger head-on with valor, while Frogadier supports it from the shadows, the skillful shinobi. By doing this, the pair are able to complement each other well, even combining their iconic Water Pulse and Aura Sphere into a ball that contains the might of a maelstrom, so that when the battle ends, it is they who are victorious, sharing the nods of valued comrades. With his Psychic Badge in hand, Ash then sets off, though he is not the only one to acquire something new, as a few days later Bonnie meets an unknown Pokemon who she names Squishy. Despite its small size and seeming helplessness, both Ash and Lucario can sense an immense aura coming from it akin to some of the legendary Pokemon they have met, and it seems they aren't the only ones curious about it, as the enigmatic Team Flare are hot on its trail, forcing Ash, Lucario and Frogadier along with Sawyer and his Grovyle to hold them off so their friends can escape. However, in the end, it is not the boys who drive off the red-clad menaces, but Squishy itself. As separating itself from the group, it transforms into a new canine state and defeats the villains before reverting to normal. Though, this is not lost on Ash or Lucario, who felt the brief flaring of its aura, as if the world itself was giving it strength for a moment. As a result, both Boy and Aura Hound agree to keep a closer eye on Squishy from here on out, though for now it seems that Aura Surge was just an anomaly, as the unknown Pokemon remains quite content to be Bonnie's little satchel companion for now. Meanwhile, Ash and Co. once more reunite with Sanpei, who invites them to visit his village in time for their village festival, though unfortunately, even this is met with calamity, as a group of rival ninja led by a defector from the village swoop in to kidnap the chief so they can install themselves as the new village leaders. Refusing to let this slide, Ash and his friends along with Sanpei and his brothers give chase, with them finding the villain's hideout quicker than in canon thanks to Ash and Lucario feeling out the chief's aura which they use as a beacon. Thanks to this, they are able to catch the rival ninja somewhat off guard, with several of the rescuers slipping by to help the chief and confront the enemy leader, while Ash, Pikachu, Sanpei and Frogadier stay behind to face his right-hand man. At first, this proves a challenging matchup, as even together Pikachu, Frogadier and Sanpei's Greninja struggle to hold their own against their opponent's well-trained Bishop, though when Pikachu is knocked prone and the Steel Dark-type goes for the finishing blow, Frogadier steps in to defend its friend, while being engulfed in blinding light. However, this is no standard evolution, as when Greninja emerges, its eyes glow bright in a way Sanpei's never did, and as it lunges forward, Ash feels as though he is moving too. Then, most shockingly of all, Greninja is bathed in a watery typhoon, while through the obscuring current, those watching can almost swear that the water starter is Mega Evolved, despite Greninja not being known to have a Mega Evolution. With this new state also comes a massive increase in power, so that where once the trio could not defeat Bishop, now Greninja can handle it on its own, and as the Steel Dark-type collapses with spirals for eyes, Ash is struck with a realization. This is the power Olympia foretold. The appearance of Greninja's new power marks a turning point in the battle, as with his right-hand man defeated, the villain Kagetomo is unable to hold his own, resulting in the rescue of the chief and the continuation of the village festival. However, right now, Ash is more interested in figuring out what happened with his water starter, so in the days that follow, he along with Greninja try to unlock the secret of its unfamiliar form. Luckily, Lucario was more than able to help here. Since as Greninja's teacher, it readily serves as a sparring partner, with the three of them quickly coming to learn that whatever this strange state is, it is triggered by a sense of synchronicity between trainer and Pokemon while in the heat of battle, due to their auras shifting to resemble one another's. Thanks to his aura training, synchronizing with his Pokemon is already Ash's specialty, while Clement helps take this a step further with the power of science by creating a pair of bracelets that Ash and Greninja can wear that help them track their unity. Through this, and the fact that Ash has spent the last 3 regions learning and honing his ability to connect with Pokemon through aura, this is not a challenge for him, with he and Greninja already seeing glimpses of the perfected Ash Greninja form by the time they reach Terminus Cave. And it is good that this is the case, since here they must tangle with Team Flare once again, though with Mega Lucario and Ash Greninja on the scene, even if it is still in its imperfect form, this is not much of a battle, with the admins being thoroughly trounced, and so quickly that Squishy doesn't have time to run away. This in turn means Bumblebee is not injured, saving Bonnie, allowing the group to get back on the road, all the while wondering what those Team Flare creeps' problem is. Fortunately, their next 2 encounters are far more pleasant, as a little while later they run into Sawyer once more, with he and Ash having a battle where it's revealed that the green-haired boy's Grovyle has evolved into Sceptile. Nonetheless, this evolution is not enough to save Sawyer from defeat, though the spectacle of this battle is enough to draw the attention of another trainer who introduces himself as Alan, and asks if Ash will battle him with Greninja after seeing its transformation. Naturally, Ash is happy to accept, though it will have to be the next day as he and Greninja are still only able to hold the form for a little while, a condition Alon respects. So the following morning he and Ash face off, the Closian choosing his Charizard while Ash used Greninja's bid. Unfortunately, even with their increase in strength and growing control over the ash-greninja form, it is still incomplete, resulting in Alon coming out the winner, though both trainers leave this match with a healthy respect for the other and desire to battle again, as they've seldom faced a rival who pushed them so hard. In anticipation of this rematch, Ash redoubles his training, with Lucario in particular helping him and Greninja out, as having gone through its own stamina issues while learning Mega Evolution, it is well placed to guide the Ninja Frog, while Ash recalls what Lucario had told him about the experience and begins applying that to himself, so that he is not the weak link in their transformation. Though Greninja and Lucario aren't the only ones he trains with, as he takes time to give some attention to all his Pokemon, so when they come across a wild Zapdos, Noibat is not only able to evolve, but triumph over the legendary bird, earning redemption for the Sinnoh League and making it clear that Ash himself is in a whole other league from where he once was. Though whether there's enough to beat Alon is yet to be seen, as about a fortnight later, he and Ash run into each other once again in an out-of-the-way Pokemon Center. Naturally, the two young men are eager to have another battle, and following a warm-up match between Alon's Metang and Ash's Noivern, they move into the main event, Charizard vs Greninja Round 2. Like last time, this is an intense clash, as both Pokemon give it their all, even activating Mega Evolution in the Ash-Greninja form to bring out their full potential. Though, here's something interesting happens, as due to all the groundwork they've put into understanding the transformation earlier than in canon, as well as having Pokemon like Lucario to train with and against, Ash and Greninja are able to fully synchronize through their desire to win against Alon and Charizard, with this granting them the completed version of Ash-Greninja they have been seeking. With this ascendance also comes an increase in power, and a new stronger version of Water Shuriken that is able to match and even surpass Charizard's Flamethrower. Not only that, but by achieving this perfected, less draining version of the form early, Ash's stamina does not give out prematurely like it did in canon, meaning Greninja is able to keep fighting and even defeat Alon's Charizard, putting the pair of rivals at one victory each. Collapsing to the ground with a smile, Ash states that he hopes the next time they battle will be in the Kalos League, while Alon admits that he had not known about that, though if it will give him a chance to battle more strong trainers like Ash, he'll start collecting badges at once. Nervously, Clement questions if there'll be enough time considering the league's only a few weeks away, though grinning up at his blonde companion, Ash retorts that if anyone can do it, it's Alon. Following this, the group get back on the road, with Ash using this time to continue training in the now mastered Ash-Greninja form. Unfortunately, due to the boost in power this transformation gives, only Mega Lucario is truly able to keep pace with the Ninja Frog, though this does give them plenty of chances to grow stronger from each other, similar to the equal dynamic Lucario developed with Infernape in the lead up to the Sinnoh League, with this ultimately culminating in Greninja achieving its long-standing ambition of beating one of the fighting steel type's aura spheres, and thus proving itself in its new form or on par with a powerful Mega Evolution. However, the true test of this comes a few days later when Diantha the champion arrives to challenge Lucario and Greninja to a double battle, having heard Olympia's prophecy. Naturally, Ash is eager to accept such an offer, with his pair of Pokemon managing to hold their own against Diantha's Gardevoir and Gourgeist until Team Rocket interrupts the battle. While this is no issue as Gardevoir is able to escape and send the Crooks blasting off, it does bring an end to Ash's challenge inconclusively, as having seen what she needed to, Diantha departs, though not before expressing faith that the boy and his joint aces do indeed have the power to shape the future of Kalos. Though, even after battling foes like Alon and Diantha, Ash does not forget his other rival in Sawyer, as on the way to Snowbell City their paths cross once again, and as is their way, they celebrate this reunion with a battle. This time they go for a 3-on-3, with Ash using Noivern, Lucario and Greninja against Sawyer's Doublade, Cloyitza and Sceptile, and while in the main timeline this is where Ash would normally suffer his first loss to Sawyer, here his improved training and overall team strength coupled with his aura and deeper bond with his Pokemon mean that victory is his, though by a slimmer margin than usual, showing that Sawyer has definitely grown. This in turn has a knock-on effect, as she's not being shaken by this loss and subsequently not fearing that he's falling behind. Ash battles less recklessly at the Oreburgh Gym, and is able to defeat Wolfric on his first try, namely due to Lucario's fighting typing being favourable against the ice types, and its Mega Evolution allowing it to match and overcome Wolfric's Mega Abomasnow. Thanks to this, Ash does not have to suffer through his depression arc, instead travelling directly to the wetlands where Gudra rejoins his team before the gang head to Lumio City in time for the start of the league. For the most part, these early rounds more or less mirror canon, albeit slightly easier, so that before he knows it, Ash is back in the semi-finals for a chance to beat his best placement to date, though to do so, he'll have to get past Sawyer, who has proven himself a serious contender, having even attained the power of Mega Evolution for Sceptile, so this will be unlike any battle the two of them have had before. This is plain from the get-go, as Sawyer attempts to establish a dominant position by starting with Salamence, though here Ash meets him with his own draconic flyer, Noivern, and considering it defeated a legendary Pokemon, a pseudo-legendary simply cannot cut it, with Salamence falling and Ash claiming the early lead. However, one thing legendary caliber strength cannot contend with is type immunity, as in its place, Sawyer wisely calls for his Slurpuff, whose super effective Dazzling Gleam blasts the Soundwave Pokemon out of the sky, evening things up at 1 loss each. Wanting to show his boldness as well as the fact that he can make use of typing too, Ash next calls for Lucario, though knowing his Fairy type would have no chance against the part Steel type, Sawyer makes the wise choice to recall it, while bringing out Aegislash in its place. This creates a new problem for Lucario, as the Steel Ghost resists bullet punches and is immune to Aura Sphere, though there is a small silver lining, that being its weakness to Bone Rush. To this end, Lucario and Ash use their joint Aura Vision to watch for the first sign of stance change, at which point the Aura Hound hurls its Bone Staff into Aegislash's scabbard, blocking the transformation and allowing it to manifest a second bone that it strikes the Royal Sword Pokemon with, granting yet Ash the win. However, recognizing that this was a tough match, the Cantonian youth makes the prudent call to withdraw Lucario here, bringing forth Talonflame instead while Sawyer answers with Clawitzer. While this should be an open and shut match, this is Ash we're talking about, with the Ravenhead youth scoring yet another victory despite type disadvantage, so that Sawyer is forced to bring out his secret weapon, Slacking. Unfortunately for Ash, Slacking's raw physical might is just too much for Talonflame to handle, with it falling while in its place Pikachu steps up to challenge the brawny behemoth. This proves to be a good strategy, as by using Aura to sense when Truant is about to activate, Ash is able to direct Pikachu through a series of tactical hit and runs that begin slowly wearing Slacking down. However, just as Ash is known for his innovation and unpredictability, so is Sawyer for his tactical analysis, meaning he naturally has a counter in place for this very strategy. Specifically, he has Slacking use Rest, revitalizing its strength just when Pikachu starts showing signs of flagging from its high intensity back and forth, so when the Great Ape reawakens, it is with the strength and stamina to take the mouse down. Though even this is not without a price, as remaining dependable and determined to the end, Pikachu leaves Slacking with a powerful point-blank Thunderbolt that cuts its health significantly, while also inflicting paralysis. Seeing the path to victory through Little Mouse's sacrifice, Lucario requests to rejoin the battle in its Mega State, with Ash happily agreeing as he fetches his best buddy then activates his Keystone. At once, Lucario transforms, with the strength and speed gained from Mega Evolution allowing it to match Slacking's immense bulk and brawn. Even with this advantage though, it is not an easy fight, as when Slacking does manage to hit, it is with the force of a truck that Ash and Lucario are somewhat relegated to long-range attacks. However, their moment does eventually come, as when Pikachu's paralysis flares up, Ash and Lucario do not hesitate, rushing in and delivering a point-blank Aura Sphere to the Great Ape's face, so that as the smoke clears, Lucario is the winner. From his side of the field, Sawyer congratulates Ash, though he is far from done, as next up he chooses Sceptile, with this being a rather quick match, as while Lucario has experience, it is also tired and injured from its previous battles, so that when Sceptile reveals its newest move in Frenzy Plant, the Aura Hound can do little to stop it, reverting to its base form and falling unconscious. As Ash helps Lucario back to the trainer box, Sawyer recalls Sceptile, clearly intending to use it sparingly and tactically, while in its place, he brings Slurpuff back in, while Ash goes with Goodra. This is an undeniably risky play considering what happened with Noivern, though having faith in his friend, Ash tells it to hang tough and use Bide, turning this match into a game of chicken, as both trainers know that unless Slurpuff can finish Goodra off quickly, its damage will be redoubled upon it. To this end, Sawyer commands the Cupcake Dog to affirm its place as a Dragon Slayer, and assail Goodra with a barrage of fairy moves, though in the end, it is not enough, with Goodra's bulk prevailing, and the revisited damage taking Slurpuff out in one hit. This leaves Sawyer with only Sceptile, though here he makes a rather risky choice reminiscent of Ash's passionate battling style, as he immediately Mega Evolves his starter, creating a new weakness to Goodra's Dragon-type attacks while also increasing its existing weakness to its Ice Beam. However, this also comes with a massive boost in power, especially to Dragon Claw, which Sawyer and Sceptile focus all their effort onto landing, as such a move will be super effective on Goodra. Naturally, Ash has no intention of letting this happen, having his Dragon Pokemon unleash a torrent of Ice Beams in the hope of keeping Sceptile at a distance. However, here too Sawyer has a plan, telling his starter to use Frenzy Plant again, this time to create walls that protect it from the icy blasts, allowing it to get close and begin hammering Goodra. Thinking fast, Ash tries to fall back on Bide, hoping it can eliminate Sceptile like it did Slurpuff, though unfortunately, it seems Goodra has taken too much damage, as before the attack can fully charge, a particularly powerful Dragon Claw downs it, bringing Ash down to his own final Pokemon. Recognizing that he can't afford to mess around, Ash calls forth Greninja and immediately begins synchronizing with it, so that a moment later Ash-Greninja is clashing against Mega Sceptile. Like Cannon, Sawyer attempts to take control of the battlefield, using its forested nature to his advantage by having Sceptile move through the trees to fire off camouflage leaf storms or else summon large frenzy plants from the nutritious soil. However, in a game of stealth and dexterity, it is unwise to bet against a shinobi, as using its own strength and acrobatics, Greninja is able to keep pace with Sceptile and cut through its attacks, while Ash's aura sight allows him to see things like the growing vines before they emerge from the ground, giving the water starter enough time to evade them and strike back against its rival. Seeing this, Sawyer admits that he should have known his rival would find a way around his strategy. Very well, let's do this Ash's way, a head-on clash, and may the best Pokemon win. Grinning that he likes the sound of that, the Ravenhead youth orders Greninja to close in and use one last water shuriken, while in turn, Sawyer calls for a leaf storm. Nodding, the pair of rival starters set to their work, with the torrent of leaves and the compressed water star meeting in the center of the battlefield. Then, with a sound like rushing wind, Water Shuriken cuts through, splitting the storm in half and striking Sceptile for a critical hit, so that a moment later, it falls forward, ending the battle and securing Ash's place in the finals against Elan. Though, not before he and Sawyer meet in the middle to shake hands, with the pair smiling broadly, as both know they've grown a lot from this battle. In particular, Sawyer feels motivated to keep training so that someday he can catch Ash, while in turn, the Cantonian boy has greater appreciation for Sawyer's intellectual style of battling, promising to take what he's learned from this match and use it to win the league. This promise is put to the test bright and early the next day, as when Ash and Elan meet for the deciding battle of the Lumiose Conference, Elan chooses his pseudo-legendary Tyranitar to start things off, while Ash holds nothing back by picking Lucario. This is an intense clash from the very beginning, as Tyranitar attempts to capitalize on its immense strength while shrouding itself in a sandstorm. Though having long ago learned how to see without its eyes, Lucario allows Aura to guide it, as it passes through the raging storm and defeats the armor Pokemon with a volley of Aura Spheres. In response, Elan calls out something a bit harder to hit, his Unpheasant, and recognizing there is a better candidate for this fight, Ash makes a tactical switch, recalling Lucario and bringing Talonflame out in its place. Like Cannon, this ends in a tie, freeing Elan up to use his Bishop next, while Ash once more leans upon his heaviest hitters as his Greninja come out to face the Dark Steel type. Though, for Greninja, this is more than just a battle, it's a form of redemption, as before it struggled to defeat the Bishop in the Ninja Village and needed the ash-greninja form to win, so now it is determined to prevail against the more powerful member of the species, and to do so in its base form. Respecting this, Ash does not attempt to initiate the transformation, instead keeping his Greninja's auras clearly separated, as he commands it to make use of its speed and misdirection through a combo of Double Team and Water Shuriken that leave the Swordblade Pokemon disorientated, and allow it to land a flurry of fast-paced hits. In an attempt to counter this, Elan tries using Thunder Wave to paralyze Greninja, commenting on how this worked well against Sawyer's slacking. Though, unfortunately for the Closian, the target he fires upon is a Double Team duplicate, meaning his attack misses, and Greninja is able to finish off Bishop with a surprise aerial ace to the back of the neck. Applauding Ash and Greninja for their consistent excellence, Elan next calls forth his Charizard, clearly hoping to break the tie between the two starters. However, it seems Lucario has other ideas, as speaking up telepathically, it asks if Greninja would be willing to step aside since it has not yet had a chance to face Charizard in its Mega form, and this would be the perfect coda to its Mega Evolution journey. Respecting this as one warrior to another, Greninja does not object, instead simply nodding its head and allowing Ash to return to its ball, while in its place, Lucario steps onto the field and Mega Evolves. Even if this isn't what he planned, Elan can't help but smile, since he lives to test himself against the strongest Mega Evolved Pokemon around, and if Ash is already impressed with Lucario as the ability, then he will welcome the challenge. To this end, he likewise Mega Evolves Charizard and calls for a Dragon Claw that Lucario meets with Bullet Punch, resulting in a shockwave that ripples through the battlefield. Seeing they are evenly matched, Charizard and Lucario begin putting everything they have into this duel, with the Aura Hound firing off Aura Spheres and using Bone Rush for close quarter combat, while the Fire Starter employs Flare Blitzes to dominate the space. It is an engrossing clash that has everyone on the edge of their seats, as no other pair of Pokemon in all the league have displayed half as much raw power and ferocity as these two. All the while, their trainers cheer them on and crowd commands in the hope of gaining the advantage. And eventually, one of these works. As in an attempt to quite literally get the upper hand, Ash's Lucario pole vault over Charizard and begin charging up an Aura Sphere to slam right onto its head, clinching the match. Though, before it can launch the attack, the Fire Lizard strikes first, driving a Thunder Punch uppercut right into Lucario's jaw. For a moment, the two Pokemon appear frozen in place, as if their combined powers have stopped time itself, only for Lucario to suddenly revert to normal as it is flung into a rocky outcropping and slumps to the ground with spirals for eyes. eyes. Having been so sure of his victory, Ash is shocked by this, so as he steps onto the field to help Lucario back to the trainer's box, his legs feel numb and he almost stumbles. Nonetheless, he is not without options, as for his next Pokemon he chooses Noivern, figuring that since it beat Zapdos it can handle Charizard. However, this is faulty logic, as Alan's Charizard has also fought legendary Pokemon, and what's more, it is a super effective Dragon Claw boosted by its Megaform's Dragon typing. So when the pair clash, Charizard quickly proves itself master of the sky, while Noivern lies beaten in the dirt. Getting desperate now, Ash next tries Goodra, and while this tactic is at least somewhat sound, he is not, as with the match rapidly slipping out of his control, he does not fully capitalize on Goodra's strengths, always being a step behind where he needs to be, as Charizard lands devastating Dragon Claws, and even endures one of Goodra's Dragon Pulses so it can grab the bulky slug and throw it into the air, turning its own weight against it. As a result, it is not long before the defender of the wetlands is unable to battle as well, cementing Ash's panic, as he truly feels lost now. That is, until Pikachu steps up, as seeing his partner wavering, the electric mouse is quick to snap at him, cheeks flashing with clearly a demand to snap out of this, since he and the rest of the team are counting on their trainer. This ferocity from his most trusted partner is just the wake-up call Ash needs, as taking a deep breath, he thinks back to his earliest aura training and how Lucario taught him to center himself, with him repeating these exercises once again, so that his aura gradually shifts from one of worry to the calm surety that is needed for a high-level battle such as this. Seeing this, even if he cannot sense aura, Pikachu squeals in delight now that his buddy is back to normal and then leaps onto the field in preparation for the fight ahead. Meanwhile, refusing to falter again, Ash takes the offensive, having Pikachu press Charizard for all it's worth, that soon Alan is forced onto the defensive. While this is not enough to defeat Mega Charizard outright, it is enough to threaten it, so that Alan chooses to recall it to his side rather than risk it being defeated before it can fight Greninja. However, as he does so, he takes a moment to thank Pikachu for helping Ash, since he wants to beat his rival at his best. To this end, he ensures that Pikachu's next opponent is worthy of him, as he calls forth his Metagross, who is quick to give the spunky rodent a run for his money, though, like in canon, it falls to Pikachu, balancing things back out as Alan chooses penultimate Pokemon in Weavile. Unfortunately, after fighting Charizard and Metagross, this third opponent is just too much for Pikachu, who is promptly defeated, though picking up where its friend left off, Greninja enters the fray once more and demonstrates its own superior skills to take the Dark Ice type down. This just leaves Charizard and Greninja, the former of whom stomps onto the field still in its Mega form, having never been recalled to its ball, while the latter begins sinking with Ash to awaken ash-greninja. When they are both ready, the two Pokemon launched each other, with Greninja using stealthy tactics to try and land surprise hits, while Charizard leverages its overwhelming power in an attempt to dominate the battlefield. Despite having battled before, this is unlike any match either of them has ever had, as both are fighting with their pride and passion on the line, since they know that this will be the tiebreaker. Meanwhile, the human partners are doing all they can to help, with Alan using his intellect to guide Charizard's strategy, while Ash leans into the mystical, using his bond with Greninja and expert aura sight to find weaknesses and preempt attacks that might otherwise have ended the match. Finally, however, this clash comes to a head, with both Pokemon putting all they have left into a final attack. Blast Burn for Charizard, and Water Shuriken for Greninja, resulting in an explosion of smoke and steam that blankets the battlefield. When it clears, both Pokemon are lying face down, having reverted to their base form since they lack even the energy to maintain their transformations, with it looking as though this battle will end in a double knockout. Though, before this call can be made, one of the combatants rises shakily to its feet and stands in front of its trainer, exhausted and bruised, but unmistakably still capable of battling. For a moment, the audience wait to see if its audacious rival will do likewise, though when it becomes apparent that it cannot, the referee raises his flag and declares that Ash Ketchum is the winner of the Lumiose Conference. As Ash steps up to receive his trophy from Diantha, the crowd go wild, with Serena, Clement, Bonnie and Sawyer being the loudest of all. At the same time, Alan also gives a hearty congratulations to his rival. As while he is disappointed in his own lack of strength, he now has a new benchmark to try and reach. However, these cheers quickly turn to screams as massive roots begin snaking their way up and around the Lumiose Conference Stadium, with this naturally inducing a panic as many try to flee, while Ash along with his friends and rivals attempt to reconvene so they might figure out the cause. As these roots are living things, Ash and Lucario have the same idea, and so begin reaching out with their auras to see what they can learn, with the pair immediately recognizing they hold a strong connection to Squishy, but corrupted. And speaking of, when they meet up with their friends, Bonnie worriedly reports that Squishy leapt from her bag and ran away, so they've got to find it. Knowing how important the little green creature is both to Bonnie and possibly this entire strange chain of events, Ash vows to do all he can, though for now they need a plan. Helpfully, Sawyer along with a few of the other Kalos League participants offer to help clear a path for the civilians to evacuate, allowing the two finalists and their companions to focus on the major threat that has just appeared, a blood-red Zygarde mounted atop Prism Tower. Though before they can do that, Milan requests Ash's help to find his friend Marin, who was up in the VIP box during their match and is now nowhere to be seen, with the Ravenhead youth immediately agreeing, so the plan is made for them to split up, as Ash and Milan will look for Marin, while Serena, Clement and Bonnie will head for the tower, though as a precaution Ash asks Lucario to go with them, since his aura sight should help keep them safe from any more of those massive monstrous roots. With this settled, the group split up, though unfortunately here things go like cannon for Ash and Milan, as they are surrounded by a group of Team Flare grunts led by Celosia, who reveals Milan's allegiance to the evil team and proceeds to capture Ash and his Pokemon. Meanwhile, having arrived at Prism Tower first, Squishy attempts to reason with his brother Zygarde, though in its enraged state, the disorderly order Pokemon simply lashes out, blasting Squishy and leaving it injured, so that it's forced to assume its 50% form to fight back, much to the shock of Bonnie and the others, while Lucario at last understands the strange immensity of the green creature's aura. Elsewhere, Ash and Alan are brought to Lysander atop Prism Tower, who expresses pride in Alan's work, as he has been instrumental in their creation of a beautiful world for the chosen few, a claim Alan himself ardently refuses, protesting that he never wanted any of that. He just wanted to help Marin and be strong enough to protect her and the people he cares about. In a turn of amusement, the Team Flare boss assures him that he will be once their plans are complete, before ordering him to go fetch Ash's Lucario, since he requires both its mega power and the might of ash-greninja to turn Squishy, or as he calls it, Z1, red with rage as well. Urgently, Ash pleads with his rival not to do this. While still smirking, Lysander hisses at him to think of Marin, and while in canon this would paralyze the league runner-up, as he'd be trapped in a moment of introspective crisis, here the resolute influence of Ash's aura allows him to find his center and break free sooner, standing openly with Ash, and having Charizard come out to break his friend's bindings. A moment later, Greninja joins its fire-type rival on the battlefield, having ascended to Ash-Greninja, and while Lysander is disappointed by this betrayal, he remains confident that he can win, bringing out his Mega Gyarados and radioing Malva to complete Alan's mission in his stead. Recognizing the name of the Elite Four member and knowing she will be inbound towards his friends, Ash makes a difficult call to break away from this battle, trusting Alan to hold the boss at bay, while he rides Noivern down to the ground just in time to meet back up with the others and intercept Malva, who is flanked by Aliana and Briony. Knowing what they have to do, Clement and Serena handle the admins, while Ash faces the Elite Four member, using ash-greninja and Mega Lucario against her Mega Houndoom and Pyroar. This is perhaps Ash's greatest challenge to date, as the Elite Four are on a whole other level, and Malva holds nothing back here, fighting with the intensity of a red-hot flame. However, this is no match for Ash's grounded strength, as using Aura to show him the weaknesses in his foe's style and his strong determination to keep himself and his Pokemon calm and focused, they are able to triumph, with Greninja taking down Pyroar, while Lucario wins its Mega Clash with Houndoom. Though, surprisingly, this earns a smile from the pink-haired woman, who admits she wasn't sure about it but now she's certain. While this world is far from perfect, so long as there are kids like him to inspire hope for the future, she's willing to fight for it rather than keep following Lysander's insane scheme, a claim that earns hisses and condemnation from the other admins. However, before Malva can fully join forces with the heroes, Bonnie's cries draw their attention, and looking over, they see Squishy being blasted by some sort of beam, so that a moment later, it too falls under Team Flare's control. Recognizing the source of this beam came from inside Prism Tower, Clement announces his intent to get inside his gym and stop it, with Malva backing him up, while Bonnie attempts to catch up with Squishy, since if anyone can talk her friend down, it's her. As for Ash and Serena, they are greeted by a group of allies as Professor Sycamore and Marin arrive via helicopter, alongside the Hoenn and Unova champions, Steven Stone and Cameron. At the sight of Ash, Cameron bursts into a wide grin, while in turn the Cantonian questions what his former rival is doing here. Chuckling good-naturedly, Cameron explains that he was on his way to Kalos to challenge Ash to their rematch when he saw him head to the league finals, but he got a little lost on the way and wound up in Hoenn. Luckily, that's where he ran to Steven, and when he heard what was happening here in Lumiose, he just knew he had to come help out. With this, Ash, Serena, and their Pokemon joined their comrades on the helicopter, with Cameron being particularly interested to meet and speak with Ash's Lucario, though it seems they have one more ally to collect, as when they rise into the air, they spot Alan sprawled out with his Charizard, having evidently been defeated, meaning Lysandra is currently active and unaccounted for. Putting this grim news aside for now, the others quickly help Alan into the vehicle, where he is relieved to see Marin, though it seems her partner Chespy is still in Lysander Labs, with this being their next destination, in the hope the Team Flare boss will have retreated there. Unfortunately, this is seemingly not the case, though the heroes are able to rescue Chespy, with Ash, Cameron and the two Lucario using their power to purge the lingering Zygarde energy and awaken the comatose Chespin, allowing Marin and even Alan to share a tearful reunion. And they are not the only ones, as by singing the song she wrote for it, Bonnie is able to help Squishy find itself again, breaking Team Flare's hold and returning it to normal, while inside Prism Tower, the combined power of Malva and Clement easily dispatches Erosic, though the gym leader's tears are not ones of joy, as in order to free the red Zygarde, Clement must erase the memories of his robotic friend Clembot, a sacrifice the android willingly makes, shutting down Team Flare's machine. And with that, Lumio City and all of Kalos is saved, as both Zygarde are free and Lysandra has fled. Or at least that is what our heroes believe until Ash's group descend deeper into the lab, where Alan reveals a giant rock that he, Steven and Lysandra managed to acquire back in Hoenn. At first, it seems benign, if somewhat strange, with Steven going through Lysandra's notes to find anything that might tell him why the madman wanted it, though it seems this information will come too late, as with the two Zygarde no longer rampaging, it requires a new source of energy, and luckily for it, there is one standing right in front of it, the pure perfected bond of ash-greninja. At once, Ash and his water starter begin emitting a strange red light. Then, before anyone can react, they are pulled into the giant rock which begins crystallizing around them. This sight horrifies everyone, but especially Lucario, as for a second it is back in the Tree of Beginnings staring at Sir Aaron's crystalline corpse, and refusing to lose another partner to this fate. The Aura Pokemon vows to do whatever it must to save Ash and Greninja. However, this will have to wait, as now that it has a new, stronger energy source, the giant rock starts to expand, becoming a monstrous stone facsimile of ash-greninja, while all around it, Lysander Labs collapses, forcing the heroes still inside to escape. As they do, the giant rock rises to its full height, and begins a slow shuffle towards the east, with Steven astutely theorizing that it must be looking for even more energy, with the most logical source being the Anastar sundial. Though this is not all, as using what he learned while scanning Lysander's notes, the champion of Hoenn warns they cannot let this come to pass, since if the giant rock consumes the sundial, it will almost certainly overload, with the resultant explosion being enough to end all life on the planet. To this end, the heroes all reconvene and prepare to give chase, with Lucario, Alan, Serena, Clement, Bonnie and Cameron already trying to figure out a way to get Ash back. Fortunately, those capable of sensing aura are able to confirm that he and Greninja are still alive, though they're in a state of suspended animation deep in the core of the rock monster, so to save them, they will need to find a way inside. Here Sycamore offers his help, contacting the remaining gym leaders in Diantha, who are rallying in Anastar City, and instructing them to do all they can to buy the younger trainers time to carry out their rescue mission. Remembering Ash well from their respective battles, the champion and leaders agree, and so wade into the fray, bringing out their strongest Pokemon to clash against the giant rock. However, this will be no simple fight, as summoning more of those massive roots, the giant rock attacks anything that gets in its way, with even powerful fighters like Diantha's Mega Gardevoir, Wulfric's Mega Abomasnow, and Olympia's Twin Meowstic proving little more than annoyances to the rock monster. As a result, the defenders of Kalos are slowly pushed back, though through their efforts, the group from Lumios are at last able to catch up, with the mission now shifting to creating an opening. To do this, they wanted to get up close and personal, as it seems Ash and Greninja are being housed in the red gem on the rock monster's chest, with this requiring them to climb the massive roots while avoiding being swatted. Figuring they will have the best chance of not being crushed by the writhing tendrils, it is decided that Cameron, Karina and their Lucarios, along with Ash's Aura Hound, will make up the rescue party, since their aura connection and vision should give them advanced warning of danger, while the rest of them will focus on defending them and drawing the roots' attention. Understanding their objectives, the heroes then advance, with Lucario's desperation to save Ash, as well as its status as the most seasoned aura user causing it to take point, firing aura spheres and issuing instructions for the others to dodge or jump when a particularly powerful root breaks through their allies' defenses. Never the type to be shown up, Cameron and his Lucario back up Ash's by unleashing powerful force palms to break through any roots that are in their way, while Karina takes it a step further by mega evolving her Lucario, and having her partner perform a series of well-practiced bone rushes, showing they've kept up their training since they last saw Ash and Lucario. Finally, the rescue team arrive at the Crystal Core, and as the Lance Charizard with Pikachu on its back fire off a joint Thunderbolt Flamethrower combo to blast away the last line of defenses in front of it, the trio of Lucario each launch an Aura Sphere, which strike true and shatter the glowing red stone, allowing them to leap into the heart of the false ash-greninja. Here they find the boy and his water starter partially engulfed in crystal, and feeling a mix of elation and fear, Lucario runs up to them, while urging them to awaken with its aura. In reversal of how this went down during the fight against Tobias, Ash along with Greninja slowly open their eyes in response, and seeing they're alright, Cameron, Karina and Lucario all work to free them, so that a moment later, the captured duo are back on their feet as they gratefully thank their rescuers for the assist. However, it seems they'll need to find another time to celebrate, as without its power source, the giant rock starts collapsing in on itself, forcing the heroes to make a hasty escape. Fortunately, this collapse also brings an end to the writhing roots, allowing their allies to likewise make a getaway, though as they all gather on a nearby mesa to bask in their achievement, they are once again proven premature, as the giant rock begins to reform. And to make matters worse, none other than Lysandra emerged from within it, having used this moment of weakness to escape and seize control. In a maniacal tone, he declares that he will complete the stone's objective even if it means forfeiting his own life, as it is better that this world be destroyed than continue to exist in its shameful, rotting state full of selfish, ugly people. Furiously, Ash rebukes this, demanding to know how he can say that when he's just seen them all, people and Pokemon from around the world, united to fight as one, because they believe in this world and the future they can build together. However, this just falls on deaf ears, as the Leonine man growls that the time for talk is over, before commanding the giant stone ash-greninja to advance and to trample over these fools if it must. Knowing they cannot let this happen, the defenders of Kalos resume their assault, with some firing off attacks from afar, while others attempt to slash at the rock monster's feet, or else fly up to battle Lysandra directly, though in every case, they are unsuccessful, as the might of the giant rock is just too much, so that soon many of them are sprawled across the battlefield in defeat. Feeling responsible as none of this would have happened if he had not been captured, Ash urgently tries to think of a plan, and catching sight of Cameron, Karina and the Lucario trio, he has an idea, as he calls for them to all huddle up with him and Greninja as he explains his plan. When he is done, the others agree that this is their best shot, and so place their hands on Ash as he activates his keystone and starts the familiar process of synchronizing with the water frog. A moment later, Ash, Greninja and Mega Lucario burst onto the scene, though even with their added power, the plan is not simply to attack, as reaching out, Ash allows his aura to flow from himself into Greninja, while Mega Lucario is quick to follow, akin to how they healed Mew back at the Tree of Beginning. From here, they are soon joined by Cameron, Karina and the Lucario, all of whom channel as much aura as they can spare into the Closian water starter. While smiling proudly, Ash gives his command, Water Shuriken. Nodding in response, Ash Greninja then manifests its signature attack. Though this is no regular water shuriken, as when it forms, it is far larger, while glowing with the indigo light of an aura sphere. This is an aura water shuriken, and as Greninja leaps into the air and throws it at its unholy doppelganger, a faint trail of light follows after it. Briefly, the attack vanishes from view, as it is eclipsed by the sheer enormity of its target, though this is short-lived, as a second later, a streak of blue erupts from the top to the bottom of the giant rock, before it begins to split, having been cleaved cleanly in half. From atop it, Lysandra lets out a furious roar, as he will not be denied his perfect plan, though by now it is already too late, as when the giant rock collapses into rubble for good this time, he is lost among it, ending the battle and ensuring Kalos will survive another day. However, this does not mean the heroes can rest, as there is much restoration work to be done to fix what Lysandra and Team Flare broke. As an act of penance, Alana and Malva are tireless in their efforts, while Ash and his team do their best to help out, though after that incredibly draining finishing move, they do need some time to get back on their feet. Finally, however, they do manage, and while cleanup work is at the top of their agenda, there are a few more matters to attend to. First and foremost, Ash and his Pokemon are celebrated as heroes of Kalos, with Professor Sycamore bestowing them and all of their allies with medals in recognition of their efforts in defending the region from Team Flare. And speaking of Team Flare, their actions also impact Ash's next priority, his Champion League challenge, since with Malva's resignation and subsequent surrender to the police, there isn't a proper Elite Four for him to face. Not to mention the League Association is still deliberating on whether Ash's victory against her outside Prism Tower should count as an official win, since it was not a full battle, but he did exhibit remarkable skill according to those who witnessed it. Understanding that these things take time, Ash accepts the delay with good grace, though thankfully there are other options available to him in the battle department, as one morning he and Cameron make their way out of the city, having decided that the time has finally come for their full battle rematch. By the time they return, night has fallen, and while Ash's friends are eager to know how the battle went, the two boys refuse to elaborate, simply smiling that it was a good match, with this being all that is said on the matter. With this, Ash and Cameron part ways, as the bandana-clad boys neared back in Unova both as their champion and primary Aura Guardian, while others like Steven also return home, and Delan announces his intent to start fresh on his Mega Evolution journey, vowing to get strong for the joy of it, not because of any internal or external pressure. Finally, it comes time for Ash to even say goodbye to Gudra, as it has been away from the wetlands for far too long. Though, on the way back, the group come across another of the giant rock's roots, revealing they were not all destroyed with the stone monster, though fortunately, Lucario and Greninja are able to easily dispatch it, with this catching the attention of Squishy and Z2, both of whom had vanished in the aftermath of the battle. Following a brief scuffle in which Zerowski attempts to abduct and conscript Clement into his new Team Neoflare, so they might capture Zygarde and make Lysander's dream a reality, only to be captured himself and turned over to Officer Jenny, the two Zygarde cores reveal themselves, though there's not a friendly reunion, as they are here with a request, explaining that during the battle with the giant rock, it implanted dozens more roots deep underground, and they have been trying to track them all down, but have so far been unsuccessful. However, it seems that Ash and Lucario can see them thanks to their aura vision, with this power being extended to ash-greninja as well due to it being a synchronization of their auras. So, for the future stability of Kalos, they humbly request that the trio join them in a mission to hunt down and eliminate the roots before they can cause more damage. Looking between Lucario and Greninja, Ash asks what his friends think, with the Ninja Frog nodding since this could be good training, while Lucario concurs they should help out, especially since they still have business to attend to here in Kalos that will keep them here for a while. Grinning that this settles things then, Ash happily agrees, and knowing that time is of the essence, he closes his eyes and begins to focus, allowing the aura to guide him, as it has countless times before. And that's where we'll end the story of What If Lucario Survived. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts, suggestions, or screams of rage in the comments below. And I will see you as the journey continues.